Chapter 781, True Essence II. Li Ziming's eyes narrowed. Sensing the tension, Li Xuanxuan hurried to interject wearily. Are you familiar with our family's celestial moon sword, fellow Taoist? Miao Yi nodded. I've heard of it slightly. Duruo was won in a wager by one of our elders in the qi cultivation realm. As for the rest, our family dared not lay hands on them. Li Xuanxuan stroked his beard gravely. If you do not believe me, I have no proof to offer. Duruo is currently in the hands of King Heng. She is in the north on assignment to exterminate demons, so naturally we cannot hand it over to your esteemed family. Miao Yi fell silent for a moment before replying softly, I understand. I cannot give my family a full answer for now. Let me investigate further. In time I will surely return with worthy gifts to exchange for Duruo. The Li family members all responded politely. Miao Yi's expression was heavy as he backed away. Then he suddenly asked, this concerns a blood feud of 100 years. My family has lived in doubt and suspicion for far too long. I ask sincerely, after leaving Moongaze Lake, should I cross Mount Ziping and head west, or descend through the mushroom forest and go south? Li Xuanxuan fell silent for a breath, then finally sighed. The desert scenery to the west is quite beautiful. Miao Yi thanked them twice before riding the wind into the sky. Li Ziming, who had been sitting upright, leaned back slightly. The atmosphere among them grew heavy. Li Xuanxuan said quietly, if this matter isn't handled well, we'll have offended Thunder Island again. The grudge was already formed the moment we obtained Duruo. Li Qinglia was just about to speak when he suddenly looked up, sensing something. Li Ziming's eyes lit up at once. This. Outside the hall, a surge of blue-green light rippled and wove into several serpent and flood dragon-like strands in the sky. It intertwined with rising golden-green spiritual energy across the heavens in a brilliant display. After a brief moment, everyone stepped out of the hall. Sparkling strands of clear energy began to descend from the sky, spinning as they fell. When they touched the lake's surface, they bounced like spirits, each trailing a white flame as they leaped 1.5 meters into the air, only to fall again. Clear light danced and shimmered all across the water's surface. Someone has reached the Foundation Establishment realm. Li Ziming looked up in surprise at the celestial phenomenon. For a moment, he couldn't tell what type of immortal foundation had formed. After a moment of scrutiny, he murmured thoughtfully, not one of the 5 virtues, not yin-yang, nor the ancient types. It must be one of the 12 essences. No sooner had he spoken than a beam of pure light rose from the lake, followed by a leaping ape. The ape had white fur and gray eyes, and its gaze was ancient and sharp. Its muscular and agile body shimmered with flowing light. It was the size of a grand hall, and its fists as large as tables. Its back and belly were covered in dense white hair, and 2 white auras coiled around its wrists. The beast radiated an imposing presence. As soon as it leapt from the water, it rapidly transformed, donning a white battle robe and taking the form of a 3-meter-tall elderly man. He landed before them. His voice was rough and deep, like stones grinding together. This old ape greets the honored sirs. The white ape. Li Xuanxuan was stunned for 2 full breaths before he reacted. The elderly man before him had a simple, honest face, with eyes deep-set with age and tightly pressed lips. He was even taller than the towering Li Ziming. He's formed an immortal foundation. Li Xuanxuan truly hadn't expected it. The white ape was, after all, merely a spirit beast from a minor sect. Years ago, he had been wandering, wounded and scarred, before he had been rescued by Li Xuanxuan during the Devil Plague. Back then, his body had been riddled with fire poison, and not a single patch of fur had remained intact. Back then, he didn't look like he would even survive to the natural end of an ordinary demonic creature's lifespan, let alone reach the Foundation Establishment realm. When the white ape entered closed-door cultivation a few years ago, his chances of success were even lower than those of Li Zicheng back in the day. Li Xuanxuan had truly been prepared for the worst. Now when he saw the old ape transformed into human form, silently standing before him, Li Xuanxuan felt a surge of emotion. The elder simply took his hand and asked, Old ape, it's enough that you're still alive. Foundation Establishment realm demonic creatures live even longer. The white ape, as always, disliked speaking. He bowed deeply to the 3 of them and rasped, This old servant, by bloodline inheritance, has cultivated the immortal foundation stone embrace slumber, true essence of the 12 essences. His voice was deep and hoarse, but it was steady and weighty. He fell silent again, but Li Ziming followed up with a question. This is my first time encountering it. What are the effects of this immortal foundation? Stone Embrace Slumber grants extended vitality and restores flesh and bone to their truest form. The body merges with true essence, pierces illusion, and gains insight into hearts. The longer one lives, the stronger the foundation becomes, replied the white ape. Li Ziming grew intrigued and couldn't help but ask, How old are you now? And how many years of lifespan remain? I spent 211 years in the mortal stage, 65 years in the embryonic breathing realm, and 177 years in the qi cultivation realm. I am now 453 years old. The old ape's voice was like a stone dropping into an empty valley. My species is naturally long-lived. Now that I've cultivated this immortal foundation, by rough estimate, I still have over 400 years remaining. Free Omega novel. A look of envy crossed Li Ziming's face. Glancing at the others beside him, he sighed. That's nearly 3 times the lifespan we have. But his expression quickly brightened. He took a jade token from his robes and handed it joyfully to the white ape. Now that you've reached the Foundation Establishment realm, the task of patrolling the lake falls to you. If anything happens, crush the jade token immediately. I'll come out of seclusion to help. Li Ziming looked as if a great burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Li Shuangxuan chuckled as he pulled the white ape closer, studying him with satisfaction before laughing hoarsely. Old friend, you're truly blessed by fortune. Seeing the weight in his gaze, the white ape nourished Li Shuangxuan's aged body with his own clear qi and spoke gently. This old servant pounded medicine for 300 years, witnessed many calamities, and survived mostly through helpless luck. Now that I've finally achieved the Tao, it's hard to say whether it's a blessing or curse. Mount Bianyan. In contrast to the brightness and joy within Mount Qingdu's Great Hall, Mount Bianyan was shrouded in gloom. Heavy clouds drifted across the mountain, and cultivators crept through its shadowy ridges. Silence reigned in the central left Great Hall. 2 lines of cultivators stood inside the vast ceremonial chamber, while the white tiles at the center lay empty. All present kept their heads down, not daring to speak. The oppressive atmosphere stretched on. Beads of sweat dotted Ning Heiyuan's forehead. He glanced across the hall at his brother-in-law, Li Xuanfeng, who had just emerged from seclusion. The elder's expression was calm and there was no visible sign of injury, yet he emanated an overwhelming pressure simply by standing there. I don't know if he's aware yet. Damn it. Why did Chuoba Changyuan come in person? It's clearly not time yet. What are the other Purple Mansion realm cultivators thinking? Baixiang Valley. At the head of the hall, Kai Jian remained silent. At last, Ning Heiyuan couldn't endure the silence any longer and spoke, reporting, my lord. The second young master of the Chuoba family, Chuoba Changyuan, personally led an assault on Baixiang Valley. As soon as he finished speaking, the elder across the hall slowly raised his head. Though his face did not look fierce, his eyes were like 2 arrows of dark light, piercing through the hall and silencing everyone within. Chapter 782, Heavenly Gilded Helm I. Li Xunfeng had recently been summoned and rewarded personally by the Purple Mansion Realm elders of Azure Pond Sect and Golden Feather Sect. He had been encouraged to continue striving. Everyone knew that Baixiang Valley had been under the protection of his juniors, so no one was willing to speak up first. On the other side, the man known as the Long Sky Halberd, Tang Shedu, had no intention of stepping forward now, even though he was usually happy to stir up a bit of commotion and nursed past grievances with Li Xunfeng. He didn't believe himself to be weaker either. He tilted his head to glance at Yusu, the brocade dark mouse beside him. Ning Heiyuan simply continued, Baixiang Valley has fallen. The surrounding regions, like Qinyuan Mountain and New Mountain, have been thoroughly plundered. A large number of devil cultivators have moved southward, flooding the wilderness up to Lake Xian and further south into Zhao family territory in Lixia Prefecture, as well as the areas around Mount Yu and Yuyuan. The defenders of Baixiang Valley failed to hold their ground and suffered heavy losses. Li Zizhai of Changshan Peak fled to Chengdu Mountain. Yu Yuwei of Panqi Peak escaped to Lake Xian. Quan Yi of Ling Peak was killed by Chuoba Changyuan. His body was destroyed and Dao extinguished. None of the remaining cultivators survived. After he finished reading the message, the crowd began murmuring among themselves. Li Xunfeng showed no sign of anger as he suddenly spoke. Lake Xian is quite far. Baixiang Valley is over 500 kilometers from Chengdu Mountain, with several intact formations along the way. Why did they only manage to escape once they reached such a distant place? Ning Heiyuan understood that his brother-in-law was asking a rhetorical question. Tang Shedu let out a cold laugh and was about to interject, but Ning Heiyuan quickly answered first. The 2 peak masters passed through many checkpoints, but the cultivators stationed there feared Chuoba Changyuan's power and dared not go out to receive them. Li Xunfeng nodded and said in a deep voice, those who lost Baixiang Valley must be punished. But unfortunately, the casualties are too severe. There's hardly anyone left to be held accountable. The 2 peak masters are among the elites of the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. It's remarkable they survived the pursuit of the devil cultivators. The others who couldn't enter the defensive formations perished along the way. Li Xunfeng's words caused mixed expressions among the cultivators. Kai Jian grew increasingly troubled. He could clearly hear the implication. Seeing the hesitation in others, he tried to subtly reassure them. What Xunfeng says is true. The guards at the checkpoints must also be punished, but the immediate priority is to send people to Baixiang Valley to rebuild the Great Formation. He made no mention of the fallen ruins near Baixiang Valley. Those had likely already been divided within the Great Void. The Azure Pond Sect had just lost a major conflict, and their share had been significantly reduced. It was barely enough to supply the Kai family, let alone be distributed to others. As soon as those words fell, Tang Shedu and the others, who had been watching coldly, grew restless. They were all cultivators who were over 100 years old, and they could all vaguely sense the shifting tides of this grand game. Given the current situation, it was clear that none of them would get a share of the ruins near Baixiang Valley. Going there would only mean offending the Chuoba family for nothing. Who could say how many tricks Chuoba Changyuan still had up his sleeve? Was this worth risking one's life? Li Xuanfeng had yet to recover from his injuries, so chances were high that someone among these veteran cultivators would be selected. Tang Shedu was the most well-known among them. Not only had he forged his reputation over many years, but he had also been personally trained by Yuanwu, Chuoba Changyuan, who would want to go against him. It's a thankless task and would only bring the wrath of the Chuoba family. Cai Jian glanced around and, as expected, asked, "Senior Shedu." Tang Shedu could only cough and step forward, but at this point he had no room for tact and had to respond quietly. Yunwu Peak is currently short on manpower. I cannot manage matters alone. Cai Jian scanned the crowd and spoke softly, "Fellow Taoist Lingu." A middle-aged man stepped out from the crowd and cupped his hands in greeting. He looked unremarkable, with 2 bulging gourds tied to his waist and vine armor glowing with Dharma light. He was Lingu Rao of the Jiachun Lingu family, known in years past as the Reiazi Scorpion, and once a guardian of the Southern Sea for Azure Pond sect. A century ago, Lingu Rao had been a well-known cultivator, and his father, Lingu Zia, was even more renowned. However, Lingu Rao had always guarded the Southern Sea and rarely returned inland, so after 100 years, few still remembered his name. Cai Jian was about to issue orders when he suddenly paused. The great void split open before him, and a golden rune flew out and landed in his palm. Cai Jian closed his eyes for a second, carefully absorbing the rune's message. Then he suddenly laughed aloud. When he reopened his eyes, they were full of joy as he declared, "Let all my fellow Taoists be informed. Chuoba Changyuan has had his Dharma robe torn and his physical form shattered. He perished violently in Baixiang Valley. Only a single wisp of his soul remains, and is likely returning to Shingle Heaven for reincarnation." The news caught everyone off guard. Tang Shedu let out a sigh of relief. Joy naturally lifted his spirits, and unable to suppress his curiosity, he asked, "Congratulations, my lord. May I ask which high cultivator was responsible?" Cai Jian laughed heartily. It was the Eastern Sea Dragon clan. Perhaps Dingyuan, the dragon son, was drawn in by the situation in Sioux State and somehow crossed thousands of kilometers straight inland. Sioux State is vast, and yet he happened to run straight into Chuoba Changyuan. How could a dragon kin spare a member of the Chuoba family? He beat him to death on the spot. He even snatched his life-bound seal. It might even be displayed as decoration in the palace of the dragon clan. Cai Jian was in high spirits, enjoying the drama and not minding the chaos. He even added a few mocking remarks, to which Ning Heiyuan quickly flattered, "Congratulations, my lord." Cai Jian replied with a cheerful smile, "Chuoba Xuantin killed the true hornless dragon's 7th son, Dongfeng Tianai, to forge his Hehu Profound Pearl and Water Wall Treasure Pill. The dragon clan hate them to the bone. Now that they've caught someone from the Chuoba family, flaying him alive would hardly be an exaggeration." Cai Jian nodded with a smile. If Chuoba Changyuan was dead, the Chuoba family would likely retreat, and the eastern threat was naturally resolved, so how could he not be pleased? Now in a leisurely mood, he added, "You should still refer to him as the true monarch of Profound Breath of Tiancheng or Emperor Wu of Liang. After all, he was a true monarch. Though now dead and his Tao extinguished, calling him by name directly might yet bring misfortune." Outwardly, he chatted casually about the Liang dynasty's tale, but inwardly he began speculating. Taoist Master Yuan Ziyu sending that rune reply so suddenly was clearly unexpected. Perhaps the Dragon Clan's move was brilliant, catching both the Purple Mansion realm cultivators and the Maha off guard. It's odd though. Since the established rules still hold, it definitely wasn't the Purple Mansion realm cultivator who had struck. Lost in thought, he grew silent. One by one the others withdrew, and the great hall gradually emptied. Ning Heiyuan and Li Xuanfeng returned together to their cave dwelling, each lost in their own thoughts. Ning Heiyuan was the first to speak. "How are your injuries now, brother-in-law?" Li Xuanfeng was more concerned about Li Zijai's condition but didn't wish to ask too directly. He waved his hand and replied, "I've taken the treasured panacea that was delivered. It's worked well. There's no need to worry." Li Xuanfeng's injuries had resulted in him being summoned by the Purple Mansion realm cultivators, and the Ning family had personally provided a healing treasure. It was a dream swamp grass, far more precious than the Husheng fruit Li Tongya had received years ago. Chapter 783, Heavenly Gilded Helm II. Li Xuanfeng's appearance had even regained a youthful glow after taking the herb. Ning Heiyuan noticed and felt much more at ease. He then said solemnly, "Brother-in-law, there's something suspicious about Chuoba Changyuan's death." Li Xuanfeng certainly understood and responded quietly, "Of course there's something strange. Perhaps even the Purple Mansion realm cultivators couldn't foresee it." Ning Heiyuan nodded and said, "The spiritual currents in Su State are in disformation now. The Great Void is crowded with Purple Mansion Realm cultivators and Maha. It's impossible to calculate anything clearly. That's why all the Purple Mansion Realm cultivators are playing their games. But how did Chuoba Changyun just happen to run into a dragonkin? Moreover, Shingle Heaven isn't some ordinary force. The Chuoba family must have demons stationed in the Great Void. Even if the current state of Su State is obscured in the void, surely they can still sense the vitality of their own juniors, can't they?" Li Xuanfeng stared heavily at the jade table. A young figure suddenly appeared in his mind. He had specifically asked about Li Zijai's situation, and had once met Dongfeng Heian in the Northern Sea. Perhaps he was the one who acted. Dongfeng Heian was the first breath exhaled by the Dragon Monarch during his core formation, so his origins are beyond prediction. Once a Dragon Monarch is involved, not even all the Purple Mansion Realm cultivators and Maha combined can make accurate calculations, but speculation would do them no good at this point. Li Xuanfeng asked, "How is the forging of the Dharma artifact progressing? The Murong family's heavy armor bears many traces of devil cultivators. It's hard to smelt, and we still need more than half the allotted time," Ning Heiyuan replied. He expressed further concern for Li Xuanfeng's injuries and soon took his leave. After seeing Ning Heiyuan off, Li Xuanfeng returned to his cave dwelling and sat cross-legged. He took out a jade bottle from his robes. Inside the jade bottle was the Zheng Metal Triple Chi pill bestowed by Yuan Ziyu. Even through the precious container, holding it felt like gripping a blade's edge. "The Kai and Ning families keep checking on my injuries and have sent such a valuable pill. It's clear they want me to recover quickly and begin working for Azure Pond sect again." Li Xuanfeng paused, then tipped the vial to let the pill inside fall out. Golden light flashed, brilliantly lighting the room in radiant white. The celestial pill hovered gently in the air, as if inspecting its surroundings. Golden white light flowed along the pill's patterns, and the cave was instantly filled with a fragrant aroma. The sound of clashing metal echoed loudly, while crimson, earthy patterns appeared on the walls, and gold and silver powder swirled up from the ground. At this rate, everything in the cave will be turned into metal and stone in no time. He didn't hesitate for a moment longer. He picked up the pill and gently placed it in his mouth. Buzz. Li Xuanfeng heard a deafening hum in his mind as the world began to spin around him. The moment the pill entered his mouth, it vanished, turning into golden light that coursed through his body and swiftly settled in his qi. He had long cultivated the engraved stone technique, so his qi was already filled with golden mists mixed with hints of crimson. But the moment this new, distinct golden light entered, it stirred up a stormy surge within. Engraved stone was a technique from the Golden Tang Gate. Its qi could break formations, cleave mountains, destroy enemy Dharma artifacts, and pierce defenses with precision. The more enemies slain and the more blood refined it, the stronger it became. He had perfected the engraved stone long ago. As an immortal foundation, it empowered his body, turning it to metal and stone, as well as controlled baleful qi in harmony with his strength to move mountains. His spiritual orifices spewed killing force, thus his current renown. Now golden energy within his qi swirled together, rising and sinking. Lighter essence ascended and the denser descended. The energies began to reconnect, reforming the Zheng Metal Triple Chi pill. To his surprise, his cultivation, which had seemingly hit its limit, began circulating again. It rose further, breaking past the peak of Foundation Establishment realm and beginning a new phase of condensation. A strange feeling arose within him, eerily similar to the sensation he'd experienced decades ago when forming his Foundation Establishment. It felt as if something was taking shape within his qi. Sure enough, the Zheng Metal Triple Chi pill slowly morphed, transforming into a massive golden talisman covered in intricate patterns that radiated bursts of multicolored light. A realization slowly dawned on Li Xuanfeng, the immortal foundation heavenly gilded helm. What had appeared in his qi was unmistakably a fellow Dao partner of his engraved stone. It was another immortal foundation of the Zheng metal system, the heavenly gilded. His aura advanced once again, as golden armor-like patterns emerged across his body. Yet Li Xuanfeng's expression darkened, and he thought coldly, so the Zheng Metal Triple Chi pill was actually a method of completing a Dao partner. There were many Dao partners on the path to Golden Core Realm, particularly within the metallic essence system. They complemented one another, and were to be cultivated once a Purple Mansion Realm divine ability was achieved. Cultivating such partners naturally took longer than consuming another's foundation. Thus, in Jiangnan, it was common for Purple Mansion Realm cultivators to devour Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators, something Zhao Yuanci had once warned of. So even at Foundation Establishment Realm, pills can be taken to add a Dao partner in the qi. This brings many wonders, but it's an act of forced growth. It can impair the mind and make reaching Purple Mansion far more difficult. Two brilliant lights were intertwining in his qi, but Li Xuanfeng opened his aging eyes slightly. He quickly grasped the motives of Taoist Master Yuan Ziyu and Taoist Master Qiushui. Taoist Master Qiushui clearly meant to benefit the Ning family. I was the best candidate to practice this art. Whether or not Ning Wan breaks through, this act already brings great gain to the Ning family. As for Taoist Master Yuan Ziu, I can bring more benefits to Azure Pond sect with my newfound strength. Both Taoist masters saw their interests align, that's why they summoned me together. Though the Immortal Foundation had taken shape, the Zheng Metal Triple Qi Pill's medicinal power continued to refine and infuse into the heavenly gilded helm, steadily completing its form. So this is the calculation of Taoist masters. Li Xuanfeng felt a cold chill run down his spine. He had never considered the Purple Mansion realm, especially since the follow-up to his cultivation method, the Heavenly Lustrous Gold Sutra, was held by the Golden Tang Gate. Whether he had the chance or not, pushing himself toward Purple Mansion realm didn't serve Azure Pond sect or anyone else. But this single pill had forced the path to Purple Mansion realm to fade into uncertainty. Shock and anger stirred within him, and as his thoughts spiraled, Yuan Su's face gradually surfaced in his mind. But I dare not hate. More clarity slowly emerged in his heart. The mana from the heavenly gilded helm was slightly dim, flowing through his meridians, causing the golden patterns on his skin to grow increasingly vivid. The heavenly gilded helm, its essence is cold and sharp, skilled at absorbing and emitting metallic energy, drawing golden brilliance. Once activated, the Immortal Foundation manifests a full helm over the body, turning it into a sculpture of stone and metal. When worn, it grants the strength to tear tigers and leopards, immune to water and fire, resistant to baleful poisons, able to mend wounds with stone and metal. It can even regenerate severed limbs. Li Xuanfeng's cultivation continued to rise. He quietly attuned himself to the change. Within his Qi Si, as if clouds parted to reveal the sky, something stirred. Another presence began to rise. The object was radiant and milky white, its brilliance halting the flow of golden energy. The golden orb receded, all energies condensed, and Li Xuanfeng's heart skipped a beat. This pill has activated the talisman seeds. Chapter 784, Anhui Heaven I. As he observed the radiant brilliance within his Qi Si, Li Xuanfeng slowly recalled the incantation he had chanted when receiving the talisman. I, Li Xuanfeng of the Li family, respectfully invoke the profound light Dharma, guardian of fate and peace of mind. I vow to cultivate in accordance with the Tao, to speak and act in timely merit, to uphold truth and vow, and when the talisman burns, to surrender this body unto the Yin realm. A response came from within the talisman seeds. To this Li Xian forsake passion and impulse, halt error and fault, and sever evil at its root. We bestow the profound light Dharma to inspire a path of cultivation, from mortal to sage, beginning to end, first by abstention, then by ascension to truth. The Li family had long pondered the talisman's response. The full scripture was lengthy, with parts stating fate immutable, unseen by ghosts and gods, referring to how even Purple Mansion realm divine arts could not deceive it, and serenity by nature, peace of heart, referring to the talisman seed's power to still the mind. So what the Li family had pledged was, to speak in timely merit, uphold vow and truth, and upon the burning of the talisman, surrender the body to the Li Xuanfeng had once quietly spoken with his suspicious and fierce nephew, Li Yunjiao, who had said, "In the early days, our family didn't grasp the true situation. We took pills from the markets. How can we be sure there were no blood pills among them? Uncle once broke through using a pill, but no one knows its origin." Li Xuanfeng understood what his nephew left unsaid. Our family forbade the use of blood sustenance, which was a rule passed down from second uncle. He once spoke of the immortal mirror's people-centric path, feeding on the mortal world. It was all a rejection of blood-based cultivation. If that's true, then the pill I took back then must have been a blood pill, so why did the mirror show nothing? They hadn't dared to continue the conversation, and had instead silently preserved the family's teachings. But now seeing the white light rising in his Qi Si, Li Xuanfeng's heart finally sank. I have committed my share of wrongs, so this punishment is rightfully mine. The soft white light shone gently down on his golden talisman-like immortal foundation. It illuminated the pure from the impure, splitting them apart. A profound light emerged from within the talisman seeds. The profound light was dense with runes as it leaped upward, then sank into the immortal foundation. The golden glow shattered at once as spirit energy dispersed. The Qi Si trembled violently as a searing, bone-piercing pain rippled through Li Xuanfeng. His vision dimmed slightly. The talisman seed within his Qi Si seemed on the verge of breaking free into the void. It no longer rested at the bottom of his Qi Si but leaped repeatedly in midair. When the talisman burns, the body is offered to the Yin realm. Li Xuanfeng felt as though 10,000 silver needles were vibrating in his mind. If this talisman seed truly flew off into the void, it would take all his cultivation with it. Offering the body to the Yin realm was no mere poetic phrase. In that brief moment, his mana and essence Qi surged wildly into his Qi Si, forming torrents that nearly emptied his reserves. Lines of alchemical script were engraved onto the talisman seed. As his life teetered on the edge, a heavy and awe-inspiring presence seemed to descend into his chi. The talisman seed immediately halted and hovered quietly atop the chi si. His essence chi and mana surged anew, flooding his limbs and bones. The immortal foundation heavenly gilded helm solidified from illusion to reality as it fully formed once again in his chi si. Li Xuanfeng sat in silence with his eyes closed. The talisman seed still floated uneasily within his chi si, as if it had been suppressed by some unseen force. It was hovering in place and refusing to sink down again. He steadied his breath and slowly opened his eyes. The baleful winds still circled within the cave. When he felt the restrained talisman seed within him, Li Xuanfeng murmured to himself, to keep the vow, to keep the vow. If I can use this body for one more deed, I may yet redeem my sins. His expression remained calm, betraying no emotion. The golden stone gathered of its own accord before him, forming a mirror that reflected Li Xuanfeng's face. It was the face of a man in his mid-30s. His long hair was jet black, his eyes were filled with baleful intent, and his features were fierce and bold. All his wrinkles and white hairs had vanished. The newly formed immortal foundation had renewed his youth, restoring him to an image of himself from years ago. This was the face I had when I first left home, back when second uncle was still alive and Xuanling had yet to perish. Li Xuanfeng gazed at his reflection and felt a faint sense of comfort. I've killed too much. And even practiced blood sustenance. I doubt I have many days left. If I still bore that vicious old face, I'd surely frighten them. But if I pass into the underworld like this, at least my father and brothers will still recognize me. Great Void. Lu Zhongxian had been staring at the descending ruins of the cave dwelling for quite some time, silently calculating in his heart. He hadn't expected Li Xuanfeng to run into trouble first. It was Lu Zhongxian's first time witnessing someone under the talisman contract, ingest a Dao Foundation. The talisman seed had been triggered before he even activated it, instantly leaping out of the man's chi si to devour all of his essence and mana. It had been ready to return to the mirror. Had Lu Zhongxian not noticed in time and suppressed the talisman seed's instinct, he would have been forced to watch Li Xuanfeng die and bear witness to the seed flying back to the mirror. The talisman seed truly does have a certain instinct. Once the hidden life contract is activated, it breaks from its bearer and returns to the mirror. Lu Zhongxian's earlier doubts began to ease. It seems the pill Li Tongya took back then must have been refined by some eastern sea demon and escaped the talisman seed's detection. Otherwise, the seed would have fled his body just like today. The one who forged this mirror clearly intended it to act as a detector. In the eyes of the talisman seed, ingestion is ingestion. There is no room for excuse. It will take your life immediately. Li Xuanfeng. He quickly withdrew his gaze and turned his attention once more to the descending ruins. Now that several true monarchs were missing, and with Yue cultivating having cleared the path, the Buddhist cultivators had grown visibly restless. There were far more Buddhist cultivators in the Great Void than Southern Purple Mansion Realm cultivators. So they held the upper hand within these ruins. In the Great Void, Yuan Ziu, Qiushui, and other Taoist masters wore grim expressions. Taoist Master Chengxi of Profound Peak Gate was present, as was someone from the Purple Smoke Gate, hovering in the air in their signature violet robes. As one of only two immortal families in Yue State with Purple Mansion Realm status, the Yuyang's Chen family beside Chengxiao Gate had also sent someone. Known for their low profile, their Purple Mansion Realm representative was a man in simple gray robes, standing quietly at the back. Even Mount Dali's Demon Den had sent a fox demon at the Purple Mansion Realm. He seemed to be a barefoot youth in white, but each cheek sprouted an extra ear. His cultivation was already at the late stage of the Purple Mansion Realm, and he listened absent-mindedly with a tilted head. Snowjai Gate still remained sealed in seclusion. Chengxiao Gate was at war with Hengzhu Dao Gate, while Crimson Reef Island was clashing with Great Ziyuqi Temple. Naturally, none of them had sent delegates. Zhao Shooting had been stationed in the Northern Sea, and the Zhao family had no other Purple Mansion Realm cultivators, so they too were absent. Expressions among the cultivators varied. Taoist Master Changxi wore a rare look of satisfaction. Clearly, his disciple Kong Tingyun from Profound Peak Gate had reaped significant benefits within the ruins. Her Golden Mountain Dharma artifact was especially effective against Buddhist cultivators, so she was truly a fish in water now. Taoist Master Qiushui looked much more composed. Since Zhang Yun was in seclusion, Golden Feather Sect had sent Zhang Duanyan in her place. She was a female cultivator, but clearly not Zhang Yun's equal. Her performance was merely passable. After 785, Anui Heaven II. Among all the cultivators present, the middle-aged man seated to the north wore the darkest expression. It was so heavy it seemed to drip with suppressed fury. His robes were ethereal and majestic, much like Chuoba Changyuan's. Clearly, he hailed from Shingle Heaven. Chuoba Changyuan had been attacked precisely when the ruins of the Dongning Palace descended. The Great Void had been in turmoil, but he had reacted within just a quarter of an hour. But by then, most of Chuoba Changyuan's life force had vanished. When the man traversed the great void and manifested back in the world, all he managed to preserve was a single wisp of Chuoba Changyuan's soul. That wisp was missing more than half its essence. Even if it reincarnated, it might no longer be Chuoba Changyuan. Outwardly he maintained appearances, claiming to his demonic allies that his soul was intact, but only he knew the bitterness buried deep in his heart. The one who struck is frighteningly powerful. Even though Changyuan had fought multiple battles and used most of his trump cards, he still shouldn't have died in just 15 minutes. That level of strength is simply beyond Foundation establishment. The Chuoba family had lost all face, so how could he not be filled with a mix of fury and fear? He had also broken the rules, and now the ruins were out of reach. Rage burned within him, but there was nothing he could do. For this person to strike with such perfect timing, they must have been stalking Changyuan for a long time. The Dragon Clan clearly hasn't let go of their grudge against my family. Their plotting must have begun back in Dai Commandery. Yet he couldn't discern which branch of the Dragon Clan had appeared. Based on their expressions, not even the Maha could figure it out. This only laced his rage with dread and fear. Could Beijia and Ziyang be involved too? But why would they target someone so junior? The Dragon Clan had once run rampant and made many enemies. The Chuoba family was merely one of the more prominent targets. He'd thought that the Dragon Clan wouldn't be so persistent after so many years, but he had been met with a crushing blow the moment he stepped out. Back then, the 9 sons of the true hornless dragon were known for their troublemaking. They would do everything from besieging true monarchs to harassing imperial heirs. At their peak, they had more than 10 dragon monarchs. If not for internal strife and a lack of Dao embryos, the 4 seas dragon palaces could have rivaled the demon courts. But they were all too unruly, drawing the ire of both immortals and demons. Suppression, both open and hidden, had reduced their numbers. Now only 2 sons remained and one was missing. Even the Dragon Clan had lost the Northern Sea. Beijia had fled eastward, lying low to lick his wounds and focus on thunder cultivation. Surely he wouldn't be stirring trouble again, but who can say for sure? Emperor Wu once said, "The 9 sons of the true hornless dragon are wild and wanton." Now that the Dragon Clan has greatly declined, and Beijia and Ziyang only spared because they couldn't be killed, the world has gradually stopped suppressing them. Who's to say they won't revert to their old ways? When the middle-aged man reached this point in his thoughts, he was already considering withdrawal. Suddenly, light burst forth from the great void. Brilliant, multicolored radiance swiftly spread across the void. What? The colors flickered and quickly dimmed. Several Maha began forming spells to divine the cause, but soon looked at one another and shook their heads, halting their incantations. The Purple Mansion realm cultivator and Mahas all found it strange and began speculating about the light. But Lu Jiangxian, hidden off to the side, had a sharper divine sense, and what he saw was entirely different. Su's state was in an unusual state. Its spiritual energy was chaotic, as treasures were scattered across the land, and entirely unpredictable. With so many Purple Mansion realm cultivators and Maha standing in the great void, the difficulty of divination had reached its peak. None could determine when or where the next ruin might fall. But in Lu Jiangxian's eyes, the darkness of the great void was not empty. There were countless phantoms of the immortal families scattered throughout, some floating and some sinking. Some were firmly anchored behind the great void's veil, while others trembled on the verge of collapse, unlikely to last much longer. Most of these remnants belonged to the long-fallen Ning state. Lu Jiangxian spotted 2 particularly solid illusions at the highest points. Having read the memories of the 5-eyed Merciful One, he had some understanding of these ancient matters. One emitted multicolored light, so it must be the Wanglin heaven of the Wanglin upper sect. The other, surrounded by a celestial blue glow, belonged to the royal family of Ning state, the Anhui heaven. These 2 grotto heavens were exceptionally stable. No amount of turmoil caused by a few Purple Mansion realm cultivators and Maha could bring them down. Lu Jiangxian himself could only barely perceive them, but among the many ruins that might descend, one stood out. It was the former royal palace of ancient Ning state, the Great Ning Palace. Despite its ruin, much of it still exuded imperial grandeur. Its soft golden radiance flitted over jade pools, white mists, and golden feathered robes. The colored light just now had burst from this very place, an arched portal the size of a doorway, through which faint glimpses of a vibrant world could be seen. Clearly, something within one of the ruins had activated it, triggering a connection to the Great Ning Palace that had caused the colored light to flash briefly through the great void. A grotto heaven, though no true monarch has made a move, an Anhui heaven of Ning state won't descend yet. But the ruins that have fallen include the Great Ning Palace, and it holds an entrance into that grotto heaven. His heart trembled slightly, and everything before him suddenly became clear. Judging from this, even if Su's state is too chaotic to divine due to so many upheavals, the Purple Mansion realm cultivators and Maha must already know there's a hidden grotto heaven in the ruins. That's why they're all gathered here. How could so many Purple Mansion realm cultivators and Maha gather for mere Dao lineage disputes or a few fallen ruins? Clearly, they knew the Great Ning Palace held a gateway to Anhui Heaven. All their scheming, all the sacrifice cultivators from north and south, all the spiritual energy upheaval, everything had been to shake the Great Ning Palace into revealing itself. Their true ambition was undoubtedly what lay hidden within Anhui Heaven. Ning states Anhui Heaven had never been discovered. Who could say how many treasures that were useful to both Foundation Establishment Realm and Purple Mansion Realm cultivators were hidden there? Yet, if so many powerful figures were converging, there had to be something even more incredible. Countless thoughts surged through Lu Zhongxian's mind as his thoughts rapidly crystallized. So this was the plan all along. Who knows how long it's been in preparation? Yue State has around 100 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators. Not a lot. Azure Pond Sect won't lose much. Seems most of the lives sacrificed will be the rapidly trained Northern Devil cultivators. Lu Zhongxian had observed the Great Void for a long while, and now his doubts were finally resolved. There will be a great struggle within Anhui Heaven. It won't just be Li Xuanfeng entering. If Azure Pond Sect wants to seize more benefits from within the Grotto Heaven, they'll need more powerful cultivators. In the battle to come, Tang Shedu, Yusu, Lingu Rao, they'll likely all have to earn merit by taking those pills and entering the Grotto Heaven to fight. He watched quietly and thought, Anhui Heaven isn't like Mirage Mirror Heaven. The Green Pine Temple's Grotto Heaven belonged to their own Dao lineage. They divided its treasures politely, and everything was predetermined. But Anhui Heaven is where the three great paths battle to the death. After 100 years, Lu Zhongxian finally wasn't someone caught in the storm. This time he was keeping pace with, and was perhaps even a step ahead of, the Purple Mansion Realm cultivator. A fire stirred in his heart. If I must send someone into the Grotto Heaven, only Li Xuanfeng would. Now that I can roam the Great Void in spirit, even if I can't break into the Grotto Heaven directly, I can still accomplish far, far more. Chapter 786, The Story of Chuoba. Li Zijai stayed in Fuchin Peak's territory for several months until his injuries finally stabilized. His rainbow-pierced skyway technique was especially adept at dissolving foreign mana within his body, making it highly effective for healing. Once he took a closer look, the worst damage was no more than a loss of a dozen or so years of lifespan. The Azure Pond Sect's pills were remarkably potent. Back when his father Li Yuanjiao had relied solely on his own mana to heal, a single injury could force him into seclusion for years. But Li Zijai began to see results within just a few months after taking the medicine. He had intended to continue his secluded healing, but unexpectedly, someone came looking for him. Li Quantao had sent someone to pay a visit. It turned out Yu Yue was seeking him. Li Zijai was slightly surprised, but since he had just escaped a deadly calamity with the man, there might be urgent news. He hurriedly came out of seclusion, only to find Li Quantao already waiting outside the formation. He was about the same age as Li Zijai and always had a smile on his face. Li Zijai was grateful to him and thanked him once again, then said softly, Quantao, you're also a Li. So from now on, consider yourself my own brother. Li Quantao, with his strong arms and bold air, replied, That's best. Brother Zijai, there's no need to stand on ceremony. The two of them left the cave dwelling together. After a moment's thought, Li Zijai asked first, Kuan Yi of Ling Peak was killed by Chuoba Changyuan and left his mother behind in the sect. He asked us to look after her. Quantao, do you know anything about what's going on at Ling Peak? Li Quantao was surprised and praised. Fellow Taoist Quan was truly a filial son. Once I returned to the sectile. Li Zijai didn't want to trouble him and quickly waved his hand, saying, I only mean to inquire about her well-being. I owe him a debt and should visit in person once I return to the sect. He declined firmly on this matter, secretly staying alert in his heart. I should have someone check on Kuan Yi's mother first. The world is often cruel to the weak. If I return years later and find that the old woman has suffered mistreatment, then I would be at fault. As they chatted, they arrived at the front courtyard. Yu Yue was in the yard, clutching his sleeves as he coughed. Though the old man's complexion was still a bit pale, his expression was spirited and his aura nearly restored. He had clearly recovered well. The older the ginger, the spicier it is. Truly, a veteran cultivator of great renown. Seems this fierce battle didn't damage his core at all, thought Li Zijai. Li Zijai greeted him softly. Senior, your strength is formidable. You saved my life. I, Zijai, am deeply grateful. I should be the one thanking you. Yu Yue's dispirited expression stemmed more from grief over his two disciples than physical injury. As he spoke of it, gloom clouded his brow and he sighed, If he hadn't gone after you, I might not have made it out alive, but you to escape while being hunted by him. That's truly remarkable. He paused, choosing not to waste time on mutual courtesies, and said quietly, Young friend, Chuoba Changyuan is dead. Li Zijai had already heard some things over the past few months. How sharp was he? When he heard that Chuoba Changyuan had been slain by someone from the Dragon Clan, he immediately understood. So Dongfeng Heian really did catch his fish, thought Li Zijai. Li Zijai already had a hunch when Chuoba Changyuan claimed to be Emperor Wu and founded a nation by slaying a dragon. He feared that if Dongfeng Heian acted too soon, he might get dragged into it. But that guy was shrewd, so he probably lay in wait near the spear or the carriage. He understood clearly but didn't show it. He only nodded and replied, "Serves him right." Yu Yue chuckled quietly and shook his head. "I used to worry Chuoba Changyuan might come back for revenge. But it's better that he's dead. By the time he reincarnates in a few decades, the grudge will have mostly faded." Having been hunted by that man, Li Zijai had a good understanding of his character and said softly, "He didn't strike me as the type to plot revenge in secret." Yu Yue smiled, nodded slightly, and drew a large purple cauldron from his sleeve. He placed it at the center of the hall with a loud thud, and a wave of heat surged forth. The cauldron had 2 handles and 3 legs. Its surface was adorned with intricate patterns. Purple flames encircled its rim. Yu Yue patted it with some reluctance and said quietly, "That's what I thought too, but take a look." Li Zijai followed his gesture and looked closely. He saw faint marks etched on the cauldron. The uneven and rugged marks appeared to form 4 bold, sweeping characters that were sharp and powerful. Shingle Chuoba. Yu Yue shook his head helplessly and sighed. "I used this cauldron to block his life-bound seal back then. It took the full brunt of the strike, leaving these marks on it. It's probably an inherent effect of their family's Dharma artifacts. Take a solid hit and it'll leave marks that are hard to erase. The next time someone from the Chuoba family sees it, they'll know you were once an enemy." He looked troubled and said in a deep voice, "I've tried every method I know, but the marks won't come off. This cauldron is a legacy from my ancestors. It is exceptionally important. Most of my cultivation over the years is tied to it. How can I just give it up?" Li Zijai was far more at ease. First, he had never taken a direct hit from that seal. Most of his injuries came from Chuoba Changyuan's spell arts. Second, he didn't even own any proper Dharma artifacts. The sword in his hand was still at the Qi cultivation realm, so it was nothing worth worrying about. Li Zijai nodded in feigned realization as he carefully examined the inscription. The sense of familiarity surged up once again, and he thought to himself, how strange. I had this same familiar feeling the first time I saw these characters. When he saw Li Zijai frown in puzzlement, Yu Yue asked a few questions, and Li Zijai replied, "I just feel like I've seen this mark before." Yu Yue stroked his beard and asked, "Then perhaps your esteemed family has records regarding the imperial seal. I'd like to hear the details." Li Zijai responded, and Yu Yue, who seemed quite patient with him, put aside his own concerns and smiled. Emperor Wu, Chuoba Xuantan, possessed an imperial seal. It's also the only remaining Dharma relic after Shingle Heaven offered 2 pearls in exchange for the protection of a true monarch. Everyone in the Chuoba family is fond of carving seals, and I've heard they all model them after the imperial seal. Li Zijai frowned as he looked at the marks again, and finally recalled where the sense of familiarity came from. When he had returned home once and met his father, he had glanced at the name inscribed on the profound patterned bottle. It was Li Qianyuan of Wei State. The calligraphy was similarly vigorous and flowing, fierce and bold. It was at least 70% similar to the marks left on the cauldron. He fell silent for a moment, then asked, "Fellow Taoist, do you know the origin of this imperial seal?" "That's a Dharma relic." Yu Yue chuckled, but when he saw the seriousness in Li Zijai's expression, he thought for a moment and hesitated. "I once overheard some idle gossip. They said this seal wasn't forged by Chuoba Xuantan himself, but was actually a vassal state seal from when the Chuoba tribe first settled in Dai Prefecture long ago." But he seemed unconvinced even as he said it, and simply finished with a smile, "Who really knows? Some say Chuoba Xuantan fell out with Mount Luoxia and was actually killed by someone from there. Others say the Chuoba family's rise was all just a scheme against the Dragon clan." He sighed and shook his head. "Tales from the late ancient era outnumber official histories 100-fold. Though my family lineage is long and second only to the Yuan family, even our records from that time are vague." Yu Yue gave a faintly sardonic smile and said, "No matter how much we guess, Chuoba Xuantan is already dead. There's really nothing left to figure out." Chapter 787, Feathered Robe I. Yu Yue could only worry on his own. Li Zijai didn't understand artifact refinement and couldn't be of much help. Azure Ponsek's path of artifact refinement had also withered since the deaths of those who had inherited Yunwu's mantle, such as Tang Shecheng, Yu Xiuxian, and finally Yu Muxian. There were simply no skilled artificers to be found. The old man wore a troubled expression as he lugged a large purplish-red cauldron around. He glanced at Li Zijai and said, "Zijai, the fallen grotto heaven is called Dongning Palace. A few purple mansion realm cultivators have already sent people. Judging by the timing, I hear that gates like Crimson Reef and Ziyuqui, who usually don't make moves, will arrive soon as well." Li Zijai nodded, putting on a look of serious attention as Yu Yue mumbled, "These days, this old man can hardly see the full picture. Crimson Reef and Ziyuqui are constantly battling in the outer seas, and cultivators fall every month. Meanwhile, some purple mansion realm elders seem to be turning back north to involve themselves in Mount Bianyan matters. Hard to grasp, truly hard to grasp." The old man sighed heavily, then sat down in confusion. Meanwhile, Li Quanta looked at the two and said, Dongning Palace. It was once a cave dwelling for many cultivators of Ning State. Ning State was the homeland of Taoist master Donghua Li Jiangquan. The Jia, Jiang, and Li families from Ning State were Golden Core realm immortal descendants. So many things must have been left behind. With the Wanglin sect and Prince Ning, it's bound to be tempting. Yu Yue thought even further, but their acquaintance was shallow, so he didn't say much to Li Quantao. He only nodded lightly and muttered, Yesterday, I received word that my nephew, Yu Fuyu, has died. No one at home is willing to claim the body, so I have to go. The Yu family was in such disarray they might as well have been enemies. Yu Yue showed no emotion when he spoke of his nephew's death. He merely let his eyelids droop, exchanged a few pleasantries, tucked the cauldron into his robes, and rode the wind away. Once the old man left the courtyard, Li Quantao stepped forward and said quietly, Brother Zhai, the Yu family is full of selfish and cruel people. Even though Yu Yue is older, that doesn't mean he's any better. Be cautious. When Li Zijai glanced at him, Li Quantao's expression turned serious as he added, Do you still remember the matter of Murong Zia, Brother Zhai? Your family must have records. The Yu family acted without shame as they openly and righteously rounded up people with mana, built numerous corpse mounds, and even constructed a grand hall where Murong Zia devoured humans day and night. Though all the families suffered under Murong Zia and understood that the Yu family had no choice, they still laughed, never tried to hide it, and even worshipped him from start to finish. Li Quantao shook his head and said grimly, Truly disgraceful. Li Zijai knew this matter as well and nodded slightly. Li Quantao continued, Besides, Yu Yuxi's death is also tied to Yu Yue. Rumor has it that he was deliberately harmed in a family feud. If someone can kill even his own brother, how can he be trusted? Yu Yuxi was clearly made into a pill for cultivation by Kai Wei. Li Zijai's expression sobered, but he couldn't say it aloud. He simply replied, Thank you for the warning, brother. As the two were conversing, a man approached from below, bowing and holding a green command token in both hands. He respectfully said, Sirs, a celestial order from the upper sect. Azure Pond sect had many ways of delivering orders. If a foundation establishment realm cultivator brought one, it would be a solemn matter. But now they merely sent a token and not even a messenger. It was clearly a sign of discontent. Li Zijai stood, brushed his sleeves, accepted the token with the proper gesture and channeled mana into it. When it shone green, he uttered, Li Zijai of Changshan Peak is to return to the station at Baixiang Valley within 3 days and follow further orders. Mount Yan Pass. Mist hung over Mount Yan Pass as black-robed cultivators descended on the wind. The cultivators below quickly greeted them. Li Wushao, as usual, wore a stern expression and said little, simply riding the wind downward. As soon as he landed, he found a burly artifact smith dressed in red, with clinking metal tools hanging from his body, standing atop the wall and looking out. It was none other than Chu Minglian. Chu Minglian had been refining artifacts in the city for the better part of this period. He had ties with the Li family and was known for his hearty and generous nature, which had helped him blend in well. When he saw Li Wushao land, Chu Minglian looked over in interest and asked, Fellow Taoist Wushao, why haven't we seen you visiting Lingu Laniang lately, and today you've returned so quickly? The garrison of Lingu Laniang from the Lingu family was not far from Mount Yan Pass. Her mount was a white hooked serpent. Li Wushao often claimed he hadn't seen such a beast in years and would go there to visit frequently. Everyone understood what was really going on but refrained from teasing him. They were privately curious and constantly tried to pry out gossip, but Li Wushao was tight-lipped, which only made them more intrigued. Li Wushao kept a straight face and only replied, Greetings, master. Devil cultivators have been rampant lately. I fear missing orders, so it's unwise to leave the formation. Li Wushao then drifted away on the wind. Chu Minglian watched, slightly puzzled, and after wandering around the pass for a while, he saw another woman flying in before the formation. The woman had a lovely appearance and was at the mid-stage of the foundation establishment realm. She wore a light jade-green Taoist robe that glowed with brilliant Dharma light. It was clearly not an ordinary item. Her long black hair flowed like a waterfall and was pinned with several hair ornaments. She was quite beautiful. The woman bowed and spoke gently. I am Lingu Laniang of the Jiachuan Lingu family. I wish to meet fellow Taoist King Hung. So it's a fellow Taoist from Jiachuan Lingu. I am Chu Minglian, replied Chu Minglian. Chu Minglian was only here to refine artifacts and didn't have the Dharma artifact to open the formation. He waved politely as he looked Lingu Laniang over with a glance and courteously stepped aside. Lingu Laniang wasn't in a rush. She waited quietly before the formation for a few minutes and sure enough, someone approached. It was a bright and graceful female cultivator who respectfully said, Li Minggong of King Du greets Senior. Her manner was quite agreeable. Lingu Laniang smiled softly and followed her through the formation, passing several city walls before arriving at a small hill. The furnishings on the hill were simple and unremarkable. Inside the cave dwelling, she found a white-robed woman at a table reading a jade slip. A silver spear was lying flat in the hall. White lightning occasionally flickered around it, producing faint crackling sounds. This must be the thunder cultivator, Li Qinghang thought. Lingulaniang greets fellow Taoist. Lingulaniang studied her. Li Qinghang also examined her in return, then smiled and stepped down from her seat, speaking warmly. Lately, Wushao has been visiting often. I hope he hasn't troubled you too much, fellow Taoist. Lingulaniang looked a little embarrassed and replied with a smile, It's no trouble at all. My Gur has someone to keep her company. From her tone, it was clear that Gur referred to the white serpent. Li Qinghang had a vague premonition and quietly speculated, what could Lingulaniang want from me? I am pretty sure this is going to be about Li Wushao and that Gur. After a round of pleasantries, Lingulaniang finally said, These past years, your family's Wushao has grown close with my Gur. I've seen him many times. He's sharp and capable, and though my Gur is still young, she's learned quite a bit from him and gained a great deal. Li Qinghang nodded with a smile and said gently, Fellow Taoist, are you suggesting? Lingulaniang smiled awkwardly and softened her tone. It would naturally be wonderful if this could come to fruition. Our two families had ties long ago, and I myself have long admired Senior. Gur and I spoke several times. She hesitated for a long while. She said that Wushao was strong and the Li family was a prestigious family. Wushao also treated her with great care, so she was very torn. Chapter 788, Feathered Robe II. At this point, Li Qinghang sensed something was off. Her expression sobered, and she remained silent as Lingulaniang quietly continued, but the young one is still, well, young. In the end, she made up her mind. It won't work. Her family line has always been of the pristine water lineage, and she's always dreamed of a pristine water cultivator as her husband. But Wushao, he's of water mansion lineage. Lingulaniang spoke very tactfully, but Li Qinghang wasn't ignorant. She understood in her heart immediately, pristine water and water mansion. What nonsense. So in the end, they're just looking down on Li Wushao's mixed hooked serpent bloodline. The hooked serpent was a descendant of the pristine water feathered serpent, and the pristine water line was considered the most pure and noble among them. Li Qinghang had seen Gur before. She was much larger than most hooked serpents, with sleek, refined scales and an aura of elegance and nobility. Other types like converging water or pit water were lesser, being descended from subordinate lines of the feathered serpent. Water Mansion was the only one not represented among the many hooked serpent clans, making it, naturally, the lowest of the low. Before meeting Li Yuanjiao, Li Wushao had been destitute and his cultivation weak to the point of fleeing into Lake Xi'an. That had much to do with his bloodline. Li Qinghang's heart grew cold. After so much time together, the cultivators here had long considered Li Wushao one of their own. This left her deeply displeased. Lingulaniang hadn't lied, and though she had phrased it gently, she felt bitterness in her heart. When she saw Li Qinghang's neutral expression, she could only explain, This visit carries no disrespect. I simply wish to speak to Senior in person. I've also brought an apology gift, hoping you might understand. Things had reached this point, and even Lingulaniang felt deeply troubled. The hooked serpent Gur at her side was the only daughter of a revered and powerful elder serpent within their family. Lingulaniang had no choice but to show her some respect. When she first heard about the two serpents, she had been excited for a day or two. Since the Li family was currently ascending, Lingulaniang was eager to establish ties, but no matter how pleased she was with the potential marriage, it wasn't a decision she could make alone. How could she force Gur to submit? At this point, Lingulaniang seemed rather flustered. Li Qinghang could see the difficulty in her eyes, and her own impulse to lash out subsided. She sighed softly and said, This is simply a matter of mutual affection. There's no need for any apology gift, please take it back. Now that she had been dragged into this mess for no reason, Li Qinghang had little patience left. The Lingu family was among the top families. She had already shown enough courtesy and had no desire to say more. Li Qinghang brushed her off with a few perfunctory words. Seeing her sour expression, Lingulaniang quickly took her leave. Just as Li Qinghang was about to summon Li Wushao, Li Minggong hurried over and said respectfully, Aunt, Master Chu has finished crafting the feathered robe. The feathered robe was originally a brocade garment captured from a devil cultivator and had once belonged to the Wanglin upper sect. Chu Minglian had taken a liking to it and spent a long time modifying it, incorporating every rare material he could find. After much effort, it was finally complete. Oh, Li Qinghang's eyes lit up. She exited the cave with Li Minggong, just in time to see Li Wushao and King Heng waiting outside. King Heng's cultivation had advanced, and he looked radiant. Li Wushao stood quietly to the side. Since there were many people present, Li Qinghang didn't speak further and simply said softly, Let's see the feathered robe first. Mount Yan Pass had once been home to a minor sect. There was a fire vein on the mountain, and the group rode the wind down to a furnace platform where Chu Minglian was waiting. His hearty face beamed with joy. He cupped his hands to Li Qinghang, then swept his sleeve over the table. A white feathered robe appeared upon it. The elegant and regal feathered robe gleamed with pure white feathers. It had a ring of beautiful cyan blue plumes around the collar and shoulders, emitting a halo-like glow. The feathers flowed downward in waves, weaving cyan, blue, and white into a jewel-like tapestry. The shimmering iridescence of the robe captivated everyone's eyes. Chu Minglian was obviously proud as his gaze moved lovingly across the garment. He was clearly reluctant to part with it. This feathered robe originally belonged to the Wanglin upper sect, but was later altered by a devil cultivator into something unrecognizable. I removed the gaudy embellishments and reworked many details. It's no longer what it once was. I also reinterpreted many of the ancient design elements. After all, the true monarch's essence is now of metallic nature, and many aspects are no longer suited to the original form. He let out a hearty laugh, confidence brimming in his voice. What's more, since the fruition attainment of the true monarch of the Jade true unified void essence, I've carefully modified all the arrays and incantations. Its power now surpasses what it once was and enhances the wearer far more effectively. Chu Minglian's expression turned serious as he declared, I may not match Tang Shicheng of old, but the foundation of this feathered robe is excellent. In its current form, it's absolutely on par with the Dharma robes of the direct descendants of Azure Pond and Golden Feather sects. This feathered robe was certainly not of the same class as the Xiaoyu spirit fan, but even resting on the table, it radiated an aura that stirred the soul. Li Qinghong picked it up gently, her face alive with joy. As for its defensive abilities, those go without saying. It can easily withstand casual attacks from an ordinary Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator. If you, Qinghong, actively channel your mana into it and reinforce the surface, its effect will rise to the next level. Chu Minglian explained, first, the Cyan Plume. This robe retains techniques from the Wanglin sect of old. The devil cultivators who obtained it had no idea how to use them, and so they lay dormant for years. If you channel mana into the 32 tail feathers, they will emit cyan light, like a thunderous and swift bird soaring to the sky. Whether flying through the heavens or diving into the sea, the effect is formidable. Second, the Tranquil Frost. The robe incorporates materials like cold metal and ice jade. The moment you put it on Qinghong, it will produce a calming, icy aura. Whether for cultivation or resisting illusions in combat, it offers remarkable benefits. Li Qinghong was already enamored with the robe. The cyan, blue, and white hues of the feathers flowed through her hands and past her pale wrist. Chu Minglian chuckled and said, I also crafted a technique called Imperial Plume. The robe's 32 cyan tail feathers can now be released all at once, each trailing radiant light. Every feather flies like an arrow. It will be extremely effective against numerous enemies. Many thanks, Senior, said Li Qinghong, smiling gently. Chu Minglian nodded, his broad face glowing with pride, and asked, This robe may only be a refitted piece, but it's the best work I've ever produced. Qinghong, have you decided on a name for it? Qinghong gave a slight nod, watching the colors flow across her palm and the soft swaying of the cyan tail feathers in the wind. After a moment's thought, she replied, Let's call it Cyan Sparrow Plume. Chapter 789, Having a Child Eye. Li Qinghong accepted the feathered robe and thanked Chu Minglian. Though the old man had been sent by the Ning family and his compensation would be handled by them, Li Qinghong still took out a storage pouch from her sleeve and slipped it into his hand. Chu Minglian naturally refused, but Li Qinghong softly said, Senior Chu's artifact forging skills are superb. My family may have further need of your expertise in the future. Our families have also long been connected. Please accept this. Chu Minglian hesitated for a moment, but ultimately tucked it into his robe and took his leave. As Li Qinghong escorted him out of the hall, golden light rippled twice in the northern sky before gradually fading. She calculated the direction. It was exactly where the ancient ruin had descended. She thought, the ruin has most likely already been divided, and the scraps others couldn't be bothered to carry are now left for the ordinary disciples of the various sects. It was not just Li Qinghong. This was something all the nearby cultivators had grown used to. Year after year, whenever a grotto heaven appeared, it would always be divided among the major sects, and common cultivators would never get a share. She looked closely and saw that the golden light flared up at that spot, streaking through the air with a trailing blaze, gradually growing larger as it neared until it stopped before her. It was a woman in a Xiang-style robe, her Dharma robe shimmering, holding a golden orb in her hand. She stopped before the formation and said with a smile, Is Qinghong within the formation? Kong Tingyun of Profound Peak has come to visit. Sister Tingyun. Li Qinghong paused only slightly before understanding. Profound Peak must have had a stake in the unidentified ruin as well. Now that Kong Tingyun had reached the late stage of the Foundation Establishment Realm, she had naturally been sent there. Kong Tingyun had just returned from the north, yet her aura was steady and her attire neat. She looked nothing like someone returning from a battle. Rather, she seemed like someone who had just broken through in cultivation. As always, she was warm and friendly. She landed inside the formation and spoke with a sweet smile. I had sect duties here, and when I heard that you were stationed nearby, I came to see you as soon as my tasks were done. Li Qinghong dismissed the others, pulled her inside the cave dwelling and said, It's been years since we last met. You've truly changed a lot, Tingyun. Kong Tingyun now carried a more dignified and refined air. Perhaps she had just emerged from secluded cultivation, for while her brows and eyes still danced with a smile, her clothing and the glow of her mana emanated a sharp intensity. I did come upon a fortunate opportunity, but my feelings haven't changed. King Hong, don't treat me as an outsider. Kong Tingyun smiled and shook her head, sitting beside her and lowering her voice. There were too many people earlier, so I couldn't speak freely. I said it was sect business, but in truth, it was that fallen Dongning Palace. I saw many people and many things inside. It was just a few months, but it felt like years. Li Qinghong nodded gently, and Kong Tingyun continued. My family's power once lay between Su State and Ning State. It was only after our family's upheaval that we moved to Jiangnan, so I know a bit about such matters. I gained some benefits in Dongning Palace and heard a few things as well. She spoke in a low voice. Qinghong, do you still remember wrathful Mahafahui? When Li Qinghong heard that name, her expression turned solemn as she replied, of course I haven't forgot. Li Tongya had died because of him. Li Qinghong was not the only one who still remembered, but who in the Li family didn't remember? Kong Tingyun continued earnestly. He had cultivated through 9 lifetimes and was just one step away from attaining the Dharma Master, but he fell at Mount Bianyan. Wrathful Dao already had a scattered lineage, and it swiftly declined afterward. But while I was there, I encountered a monk and gathered some information from him. He said that in the earlier years, Wrathful Dao had a loyal, merciful one who returned from Mobai. He had been ambushed and seriously injured, but he had managed to escape and vanished. Li Qinghong sharply met her gaze, her heart skipping like a lightning strike. Was this truly gathered intel? Or is Changxi using Tingyun's mouth to send me a warning? Either way, it made little difference. Changxi had tried to show goodwill to her family more than once. Li Qinghong quickly expressed her thanks, but Kong Tingyun waved her hand and said gravely, no need to thank me, Qinghong. That's not the only issue. There's more trouble. First, a monk of the Way of Emptiness fled into your family's territory and was slain. He was one of the 5-eyed merciful one's arhats. Someone who was valued greatly. Taking a life is the primary karmic tie. I fear they may come seeking trouble because of it. Second, there's a merciful one in the north. His Dharma name is Nuzi. He seems to have set sights on Senior Xuanfeng. He's silently observing from the shadows, though there are many Purple Mansion realm cultivators around, so he dares not act, but it's still unsettling. Taken together, this meant that 3 merciful ones had their eyes on the Li family. Li Qinghong felt a heavy weight in her heart and bowed in thanks. Many thanks for the sect's warning. This favor will be remembered. Kong Tingyun waved her hand and replied, there's also good news. Years ago, your family inquired with mine about the Bright Yang spirit item. I hadn't heard anything until now. I finally came across a Bright Yang Purple Mansion Realm spirit item, the Radiant Sky Stone in Dongning Palace. The Li family had inquired about spirit items several times. The Qi family had initially pointed them to the Ning family's channels. Li Xuanfeng asked once, and had indeed acquired a certain item called Sayuan Hua in the Eastern Fire Grotto Heaven. But he had long traded that spirit item to Taoist Master Puyu from the Outer Sea in exchange for Winter Cold Qi to help Ning Wan with her breakthrough. That item had then fallen into Taoist Master Puyu's hands, whose sect was elusive and untraceable, leaving them with no further leads. Li Qinghong was instantly invigorated. She quickly met King Tingyun's eyes and asked, did it fall into your hands, sister? Kong Tingyun shook her head regretfully and spoke in a low voice. I was in a dangerous situation at the time and only caught a brief glimpse. The hexagonal white stone shimmered brightly, with light and flame intertwining around it, making the surrounding mist glow orange from the heat. It was definitely the Radiant Sky Stone. The Radiant Sky Stone was fiercely contested, but in the end, it fell into the hands of Yu Fuzi from Chengxiao Gate. Li Qinghong fell into silence, while Kong Tingyun raised her brow and said quietly, this person has some strength and he also bears a grudge against me, but right now I have no idea where he is. Kong Tingyun's meaning was faintly revealed, but Li Qinghong's heart sank. Relations between the Chengxiao Gate and Profound Peak Gate were far from cordial. In fact, Li Qinghong herself had killed a member of Chengxiao Gate before, though it had yet to be discovered. Kong Tingyun clearly hadn't considered retrieving the item through trade, as she likely believed the Li family had nothing that could tempt Yu Fuzi. Yet Li Qinghong couldn't just follow along with that view and remained silent. Kong Tingyun said softly, Yu Fuzi is a direct descendant of Chengxiao. That sect has 2 Purple Mansion realm cultivators, and one of them is likely watching from the Great Void. It will indeed be difficult. I've passed on the message. If your family has allies who might be able to try, you'll have to judge for yourselves. Li Qinghong softly thanked her. It was clear that Kong Tingyun was referring to Zhao shooting, but the Zhao family had become increasingly low-key in recent years and rarely appeared in public. Zhao shooting had long been absent from Jiangnan, and the Zhao family tended to avoid entanglements, so it was very unlikely that they would offer support. After chatting a little longer, Kong Tingyun took her leave on the wind. Li Qinghong escorted her out, then returned to her cave dwelling. After some thought, she quietly began to write a letter. Chapter 790, Having a Child II. The Lee family household. Winter snow fell with a soft rustle. This year, the snowfall was cold snow gathered atop the long stone wall along the riverbank, painting it in stark gray and white. A few pedestrians hurried past, clutching new quilts in their arms. This riverside dam had originally been constructed after two sects exploited the flood caused by the Yuan family patriarch's death. The lake had long since receded, leaving behind a long, gray-white dam wall. Li Xiaowei walked casually down the snow-laden path, cloaked in a black robe. And Siwei and Chen Yang were following behind him. His father, Li Qingliao, had already reached the late stage of the qi cultivation realm and had gradually handed over family affairs to him before heading up the mountain to cultivate. Though Li Xiaowei had yet to formally inherit the patriarch's position, the responsibilities of the household had already fallen to him. The Li family had already begun separating secular family affairs from the immortal matters of kingdom in previous generations. This was the trend under the likes of Li Yuanping, Li Yuanjiao, Li Zicheng, and Li Zijun. But now things had changed. Since Li Zijun was severely injured on Mount Qingdu and Li Ziming in seclusion, authority now rested with Li Xiaowei. Li Qingliao had relinquished power, and even the affairs of the central hall were now handled by Li Xiaowei. He handled it all with composure. Each day, he would sit briefly in the central hall, with his brush sweeping like a dragon. Dozens of complex family affairs would be resolved in mere moments. Then, with a flick of his robe, he would return to Mount Qingdu, never wasting time. Now that he had been cultivating for some time, he even had moments to observe the livelihoods of the common people by the lake. Golden light shimmered faintly in his eyes. A small blue bird was perched on his shoulder. It was the manifestation of the Dharma artifact Azure Manifestation, a gift from Yuan Tuan. The spirit bird conjured from it appeared lifelike and animated. How have the arrangements for the 7 remnant families gone? Li Xiaowei asked softly, arms folded across his chest. Chen Yang promptly responded, they've been assigned to various towns and are following orders. As families with a history of wrongdoing, they've been quite diligent, though their status is ranked below that of the other families. The remnant families Li Xiaowei spoke of were, of course, the families left behind after the fall of the Yu family. All of them had been relocated to the southernmost reaches of Mount Yue, where they would be left to compete and struggle against the various tribes. And Siwei responded calmly, reporting to the air, the 7 families now all identify themselves with Nanjing Mountain in the southernmost part of Mount Yue. They each claim to hail from Nanjing and no longer mention their past. Smart enough, Li Xiaowei replied casually. He noted the name Nanjing and pondered they could be a useful group, not afraid of offending others and born in a savage land. That place is treacherous. If we give them just enough favor, they won't be wiped out and will still serve as a check on the inner families. From Siwei's line, they all claim to be from Nanjing. Li Xiaowei understood that the 7 families were consciously forming a united front. First, to contend with the native Mount Yue tribes, and second, to carve out a place in the silent struggles among the prestigious families across various towns. After a century, the Li family had already splintered into factions. The man behind him, Chen Yang, represented the Chen family, and he was a leading figure of Li Jing's 4 towns among the various peaks. And Siwei, naturally, represented Hu Yu's 7 towns. The remaining branches of the Li family, along with Wutu's 8 towns, Huaqian's 4 towns, the Milan's 18 towns, and the 26 tribes of eastern Mount Yue each had their own external rivalries and internal discord. The complexity had grown far beyond what it was a century ago. Among them, the Li Jing faction was the strongest. Li Xiaowei had a reputation for favoring unpopular figures, such as Chen Yang, whom the other houses disliked. Bringing in Siwei, who was well respected among the Hu Yu families, was clearly a calculated move. He was considering promoting 1 or 2 people from Nanjing when a subordinate came rushing up to report, "My lord, news from the clan chief's court." The trusted aide pulled a letter from his sleeve and handed it to Li Xiaowei. He opened it, and after a glance, rare delight appeared on his brow. "Su Peiyu is with child," muttered Li Xiaowei. Su Peiyu was the first woman Li Xiaowei had taken as a wife. Later, he had married women from the Ren and Tian families, with 4 concubines in total to stabilize his standing. Despite all that, Su Peiyu still held a special place in his heart. No wonder. Every time he visited, the woman only sought closeness to the point of exhaustion before resting. She hadn't contacted him in the past 2 days, and he had thought she'd finally taken a break. However, it seemed she was pregnant. He tucked the letter away, dismissed the 2 aides, and rode the wind to Li Jing Mountain, landing in the jade-like courtyard of the central hall. The guards on both sides immediately bowed as Li Xiaowei strode straight into the hall. "Greetings, your highness." The white-armored palace guards on either side all fell to their knees in unison. Jade halberds and swords clinked crisply as they arranged themselves neatly, their voices echoing in perfect harmony in the hall. Li Xiaowei's boots rang coldly against the floor. Unlike his father, Li Qingliao, who would pause to let the guards rise, he walked straight to the end of the hall before his voice finally floated back, "You may rise." After a few more steps, he soon arrived at the rear hall. His father Li Qinglio had only one wife, so this place had always been empty. Now, however, it had become lively, with handmaidens often hurrying through the corridors. Su Peiyu's building was nearby. When Li Xiaowei entered, a physician stepped forward and bowed respectfully. "Congratulations, Your Highness. Lady Su is 1 month pregnant." The physician lifted his eyes slightly but heard no response. He only saw the gleaming jade boot standing motionless before him. "They say the moods of lords are hard to read, and indeed it's true," thought the physician. Sweat trickled down his forehead as the man before him finally spoke. 1 month. Li Xiaowei's tone turned cold. He had visited Su Peiyu several times this month. As a cultivator, how could he not tell whether she was pregnant? He was starting to suspect this man's medical skill was poor. His diagnosis was pure nonsense. "My lord." Just then Su Peiyu hurried up to him. Li Xiaowei glanced at her belly, and his expression softened somewhat. He dismissed the sweating physician with a wave and carefully examined Peiyu's complexion. Sure enough, though she seemed spirited, there were dark circles under her eyes. Her essence qi was subtly waning, and her cheeks were much thinner than usual. Li Xiaowei said nothing and followed her into the hall. Golden light flowed in his eyes as his expression grew darker. It's been less than 10 days, yet the child already shows signs of being a month along. Su Peiyu was still unaware, chattering on and pulling him to talk about this and that. Li Xiaowei responded calmly, trying to reassure her. The woman stared keenly into his eyes and murmured, "I've often felt dizzy and sluggish these past few days. My whole body feels drained of blood and qi. I nearly fainted a few times. I might need stronger medicine." "I'll take care of it. Let's first have an elder examine you," replied Li Xiaowei. A sense of foreboding rose in Li Xiaowei's heart. He scrutinized her once more, then slowly turned and strode out. He soared into the air, leaving her behind still waiting in the hall. Only after Li Xiaowei vanished from sight did Su Peiyu's expression finally show traces of fear. She felt as though all her essence qi was draining into her womb. As she sat blankly in her seat, a faint dread rose in her heart. Each time she had lain with Li Xiaowei, a fragrance like peonies would intoxicate her senses, nearly causing her to lose her mind. Only after he had been gone for some time would she slowly feel fear again. Yet the moment he returned to the hall, she would rush out to greet him, overjoyed. "His Highness is divine and mighty, capable of ensnaring hearts and souls. Those golden pupils. He doesn't seem human, but more like some demonic creature. How could a human bear the child of a demon? What logic is there in that? He might devour me without hesitation, truly like a demon." Su Peiyu dared not tell anyone. Even to her own family, she only said the pregnancy was good news. But now her legs grew cold. It felt as if a great stone had settled in her womb. It was so heavy she could barely breathe. Chapter 791, Molten Fire Dao Ai. Li Ziming secluded himself atop the peak for several months, comprehending the contents of the Radiant Essence scripture. It contained a total of 9 secret techniques that would be planted into his immortal foundation to nurture divine abilities. "At present, I have only managed to cultivate one," thought Li Ziming. Once he cultivated the first secret technique, Bright Yang, a golden mark appeared on his Radiant Origin Pass, enhancing his mana circulation by half and slightly boosting his overall strength. Though the 9 secret techniques differed slightly, there was no fixed order. Any of them could be cultivated first. Since Bright Yang could solidify his mana and was broadly useful, Li Ziming chose to cultivate it first. While successfully cultivating a secret technique was a good thing, Li Ziming did not pause and immediately started on the second, but his expression soon turned grim. When he tried to condense the second secret technique into his immortal foundation, it clashed with the first, Bright Yang, making the difficulty soar by a full 50%. "I thought it would take just over a century to complete all 9, but even centuries may not be enough." His heart sank. He finally understood why so few reached the Purple Mansion realm in the mighty Azure Pond sect, and why cultivators like Li and Cheng delayed their breakthroughs until the brink of death. What's worse, as more secret techniques are cultivated, the repulsive forces will compound, making it nearly impossible to complete even one more. Then I'll have to bet on a mere 5 or 10% chance to break through. He ceased his spell arts and rose from the jade throne within his cave dwelling, where the spiritual energy was the densest in his entire family. The throne, brought back from Mount Wu, was the finest cultivation artifact. Its radiance illuminated his face but made Li Ziming squint slightly. Time had flown like a snap of the fingers, and though he was nearing 60, his face, lit by the luminous jade, still looked like that of a young man. Li Ziming examined his train of thought twice before pulling out a jade slip. This jade slip contained nearly 100,000 words of insights he had gained while cultivating the Bright Yang secret technique. Li Ziming had initially been greatly ambitious and hoped to master 7 or 8 techniques, record each carefully, and compile them into a volume to leave behind even if he failed to break through. But staring at the contents of the jade slip now, he could only mutter, "Reaching the Purple Mansion realm is not the achievement of one generation. My family rose too late. After several generations of climbing, We've only now reached the starting point that the Xiao family had long ago. Li Ziming needed no further thought to understand that countless secret technique cultivation experiences must have been compiled over the generations in the Azure Ponsec's dark floating compliant Cloud Sutra and Lucid Marsh Profound Cave Sutra. Figures like Kai Wei, Kai Buzi, and the earlier Kai family members had long documented all the crucial details. Zhang Yun and Qing Jifeng surely had similar resources. Xiao Shooting's breakthrough into the Purple Mansion realm was no accident. Xiao Xianyu must have schemed thoroughly and even acquired legacies from the Lingyu Gate to achieve success. But time waits for no one. Now is the best opportunity. Li Ziming was not blind to the situation. The Golden Core realm cultivators of the three sects had yet to reappear. Whether the strife among them had ended was unknown, but all were likely wounded and would not show themselves. The Azure Ponsect in particular had been drained by Kai Wei's exploitation, resulting in 5 centuries without fresh talent. It was even more rare that the Kai family's Purple Mansion realm line was almost extinct, and Suiguan, neither fully human nor ghost, cared nothing for the family's interests. It was the perfect time to ascend to the Purple Mansion realm, since such chances would vanish once the three sects recovered. He did not believe himself as cunning as Xiao Shooting, who had seized a gap between sects to ascend to the Purple Mansion realm, leveraging conflicts and sacrifices to force Azurpon's consent. Xiao Shooting had risen to become a leading figure among the Purple Mansion realm cultivators, and Li Ziming thought himself not even a fraction as capable as that elder. Zhao Wei is now only at the mid-stage of the Qi cultivation. Though he is exceptionally talented, he is not like Chu Yi, a true monarch reincarnated. It will take at least another 20 or 30 years for him to reach the late stage of the Foundation establishment realm. How much time will the great battle at Mount Banyan leave us? By then, the situation may no longer be favorable. I once thought that with diligent cultivation and ignoring worldly matters, there would be at least a 50% chance of reaching the Purple Mansion realm. But now, unless I can obtain a bright Yang spirit item, there is only a slight chance to fight for it. Li Ziming's gaze grew somber, his expression no longer reflecting the usual focus of cultivation. His posture and demeanor shifted, revealing a heavy sense of worry. If only I could refine some pills, he could be considered a master of alchemy. Although he focused mainly on cultivation and seldom refined pills for others, he had seen and studied many pill recipes, including numerous rare and wondrous formulas. Li Ziming sat silently, gazing at a wooden slip for a while, until he heard knocking on the door of his cave dwelling. He rose as if waking from a dream when a servant came to report that Li Xiaowei requested an audience. He stepped out of the cave and saw a youth in a black cloak standing solemnly before them. His tiger-like eyes were fierce and his presence imposing. Li Ziming could not help but admire him inwardly. My son should be grown by now. In my race against time for cultivation, I've only seen him 3 times in over a decade. I feared he has become a spoiled wastrel. After hearing Li Xiaowei's report and asking a few more questions, Su Peiyu was brought into the hall. Li Ziming examined the young woman carefully, sweeping her twice with his spiritual sense, and frowned. Her vitality is severely damaged. Having refined pills for many years under the tutelage of Xiao Yuanci, he was deeply knowledgeable in this field. After a thorough inspection, although he found nothing obviously wrong, he still took out 2 pills for Su Peiyu to consume, which considerably improved her spirits. These vitality-returning powder and clarity-settling pills must be taken daily. Also, bring some spirit items from home so I can concoct a formula to treat her as if she were born with innate deficiencies. When he saw the unease on Su Peiyu's face as she timidly peeked at him, Li Ziming reassured her. Our family possesses an abundance of spirit pills and medicines. Rest assured, we can certainly safeguard both mother and child. Li Ziming then dismissed Su Peiyu with a wave, raising his brows as he looked at Li Xiaowei and said in a low voice, I can't fully grasp the situation. We may need to consult King Heng. Firstly, matters concerning unborn children fall more within the expertise of the devil and Buddhist Tao's. King Heng has traveled extensively in the north and likely holds insights into such cases. Secondly, his temple once worshipped the undefeated King of Brightness, who was part of the Bright Yang Dao lineage. There are many records and it's necessary to inquire further. Li Xiaowei gave him a thoughtful glance and responded solemnly. Li Ziming continued his questioning. Any other news from the family? Li Xiaowei naturally understood what Li Ziming was concerned about. He pulled a letter from his sleeve and replied, A letter from the North Uncle, please take a look. Li Ziming took the letter, glanced over it briefly, and his eyes immediately lit up. He exclaimed, Good, good, good. Finally some news. Though difficult, it's far better than having no trace at all. This letter was naturally penned by Li Qingheng, who reported that the radiant sky stone had fallen into the hands of Yu Fuzi of Chengxiao Gate. Li Ziming was filled with immense joy. Chapter 792, Molten Fire Dao Ai. Li Xiaowei had already read the letter earlier and now spoke in a low voice. Indeed, the radiant skystone was obtained by Yu Fuzi in Dongning Palace. The spiritual energy in Su State is chaotic and difficult to predict, making it hard even for Purple Mansion realm cultivators and Maha to manipulate. It might actually be safer because of that. Li Ziming nodded and saw golden light flickering in Zhao Wei's eyes as he continued. With a Purple Mansion realm cultivator stationed at Changxiao Gate, we cannot recklessly offend them. We might fall into a Purple Mansion realm cultivator's. We can only rely on another Purple Mansion realm cultivator to secretly plot from within. Currently, Changxiao Gate and Hangzhou Dao Gate are locked in endless conflict. Their hatred runs deep. We could exploit this. Whether by allying with Hangzhou Dao Gate or trading with them, we must find an opportunity to obtain the treasure. Li Ziming listened for a while and nodded. Zhao Wei stood tall and said, "No matter what, we must first investigate Yu Fuzi, find out his cultivation and what treasures he possesses, as well as his temperament and preferences. As long as he is not hiding within his sect without stepping out, there will be an opportunity. The only problem is that our senior members are stationed guarding the northern borders and cannot act freely. Future movements will be hard to coordinate." After Zhao Wei finished analyzing the situation, Li Ziming stroked his beard and nodded, dispatching people to investigate. Then he smiled at the younger man and said gently, "I've encountered a bottleneck in my cultivation recently and just emerged from seclusion. I thought about refining some pills, partly to enhance our cultivation and partly to clear my thoughts. A change of pace might bring about a breakthrough." Li Xiaowei asked, "Uncle, you mean?" "I wonder if there are any bright Yang-type demons in the Eastern Sea. We could capture one and use it in alchemy for supplementation," said Li Ziming. Li Xiaowei was slightly surprised and replied, "Such creatures are rare in the Eastern Sea, but I will investigate immediately. There may have been no news of them in recent years." He gave Li Ziming a careful look, sensing that his uncle was somewhat different today, but an unaware Li Ziming simply nodded in agreement. Li Xiaowei poured some tea and suddenly spoke, "Uncle, there is one more thing we might try." Li Ziming looked at him in confusion, and Zhao Wei continued softly, "Uncle, do you still remember the aged courtly path scripture?" Of course, Li Ziming knew of it. The technique had once been cultivated by the Jiang family. Its grade was unknown, but it was extremely powerful. Sadly, its qi-gathering method had long become obsolete. Yet the Yu family's ancestor Yu Yufeng had managed to master a preserved portion of it, earning great fame and the title White Jade Hand. Though he had been gravely wounded for many years, Yu Yufeng had forced 3 Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators and a grand formation to work together just to slay him. His fall had marked the beginning of the Yu family's decline. Seeing Li Ziming nod, Li Xiaowei straightened and said seriously, "It's my suspicion that this technique most likely originated before Heaven's change. It only failed later. Now that the true jade has returned to its place, perhaps it can be tried again. If the qi-gathering method works, our family will gain another Purple Mansion Realm technique. This is a high-grade technique, so it would be perfect to bestow upon the younger generation of the family." Thanks to the fortune of Mirage Mirror Heaven of the Green Pine Grotto Heaven, the Li family's embryonic breathing realm techniques now ranked among the best of all families. They boasted 2 4th-grade 6 chapters seeking immortality manuals and the Scaled Beasts Inquiry technique, as well as the impressive 5th-grade insights of Taehua. However, when it came to Qi Cultivation Realm and Foundation Establishment Realm techniques, the family was less well-stocked. The 5th-grade Radiant Essence Scripture was vital and could not be handed out casually. Apart from the 4th-grade Pheasant Flame's Long March technique, the rest of the manuals were only 3rd grade. Li Ziming started to nod repeatedly. Matters of the family were already largely entrusted to this younger generation. Knowing Zhao wouldn't mention this without reason, he asked, "What needs to be done?" Li Zhao replied, "We need to collect dust of the court. A grand courtyard of pure white jade is required, preferably jade imbued with spiritual power, bathed in radiance, guarded by 1,000, and surrounded by 10,000 residents. Each year would yield a wisp and 10 years to gather a portion." Li Ziming's eyelids dropped as he answered, "This would indeed exhaust our resources and burden the people. Where would we even find so much spirit jade? Though jade is flourishing now, assembling enough for a grand courtyard would require a whole small mountain's worth. In the end, I fear we will have to trouble you, uncle," said Li Xiaowei. Just as Xiaowei was about to speak, he suddenly sensed something and snapped his head westward. He saw a patch of fiery clouds about 5,000 kilometers away, a vague crimson hue floating at the horizon like a rising star. Brilliant light swept across the sky, dispersing distant clouds and leaving only the flickering bright hue on the far horizon. A solemn young voice emerged. "I, Tu Longjin of the Slaughter Jun Gate, have today achieved the Purple Mansion Realm and attained the Molten Fire divine ability. I shall rebuild the Slaughter Jun Immortal Gate at Qujun Mountain. 3 months hence, I will consolidate the Wu Kingdom and establish a county capital. Fellow cultivators are welcome to attend the ceremony." All cultivators of the Slaughter Kui Dao lineage are welcome at Quzhen Mountain to aid in the reconstruction of the sect. Although the voice had faded by the time it reached them, its vibrant and confident tone remained clear, with the fiery glow at the horizon pulsing in response to his words. Tu Longjian has attained a divine ability. How magnificent. Li Ziming suddenly lifted his head to look at the hazy fire virtue glow of molten fire at the horizon. Since Tu Longjian's words could reach here, Quzhen Mountain must not be far from Moongaze Lake and was likely near Yue State. His heart surged and he said gravely, "It's a rare instance of molten fire even within Yue State in the Eastern Sea. It will likely stand unparalleled across all Jiangnan. From now on, whenever molten fire is mentioned, everyone will think of the Slaughter Jun Gate." Li Xiaowei found it rather interesting. The Li family had once received teachings from the Slaughter Jun Gate. Even the White Ape had once refined medicine there. Traditionally, the Slaughter Jun Gate's techniques leaned toward yin and cold energies such as cold qi, veiled yin, and lesser yin types of cultivation. But now, rising from decline, Tu Longjian had acquired the 6 Ding Merging Fire token, transforming the gate into one associated with molten fire and merging fire instead. We must send someone to offer congratulations. Li Ziming's expression lit up with joy. After all, Tu Longjian had formed ties with the Li family as early as his foundation establishment realm and qi cultivation realm days, and he greatly respected Li Yunjiao. He was, without doubt, a natural ally. Li Xiaowei only allowed Siwei to step forward. Li Ziming hurriedly said, "Go to the treasury and pick out a few precious spirit items." Ah, for a purple mansion realm breakthrough, especially with such a close Taoist master, we ought to send treasured panaceas. What else do we have in the treasury? Uncle, please wait a moment. Li Ziming had barely finished speaking when Li Xiaowei stopped him, his heir's golden eyes glinting with a trace of a smile as he said, "In my opinion, whether or not we send lavish gifts, we should definitely have the White Ape deliver them personally." Li Ziming was momentarily stunned upon hearing this, but then immediately understood, his face blooming into a broad smile as he said, "Exactly. Exactly, you've thought of everything. Having the White Ape deliver congratulations would be perfect. If the Taoist master recognizes the White Ape, it would be even better. Without you, I would have nearly made a blunder." Li Xiaowei had heard the White Ape mention this person long ago and knew that the White Ape was acquainted with Tu Longjian. Hence he had carefully made this suggestion. He flicked his black cloak, cupped his fists in return, and said with a nod, "I will arrange it immediately." Li Xiaowei rode the wind and immediately departed. Li Ziming sat quietly in his cave dwelling for a while, pondering inwardly, Yu Fuzi, the bright yang demonic creatures, and Spirit Jade Mountain. It's a pity the timing is off, otherwise going out to the Eastern Sea to gather information would have been most convenient. He took out his pill furnace, thinking to himself, Zijin's injuries will take a long time to heal. Once the White Ape returns from delivering congratulations, I'll send him out. That old demon is still the most reliable. Chapter 793 Shock, Beixiang Valley. Chuoba Changyuan had broken through Beixiang Valley more than half a year ago, and the surrounding regions like Qinyuan Mountain and New Mountain had been plundered clean. Vast swathes had been transformed into devil cultivators' ravaged lands. Tang Shedu was by no means incompetent. When Chuoba Changyuan died, he received orders to march into the mountains, splitting the devil lands in two. It only took him 2 hours to fight his way back to Beixiang Valley. The famed Changshan halberd had not been used for years, but once it was unleashed, it instantly slew over 10 devil cultivators. Wherever the halberd struck, death and soul annihilation followed, with no chance for escape. Clad in radiant white armor and dripping with the blood of devil cultivators, he stood his ground, planting his halberd with overwhelming might. He felt immensely pleased with himself. "Where is Li Zijai?" Tang Shedu glanced at the jade slip and casually muttered, "The agreed time was within 3 days, yet there's no sign of him." Tang Shedu had only just fought his way into Beixiang Valley, and it was already the last day of the 3-day deadline of the rather forced arrangement. He needed no deep thought to guess it must have been orchestrated by Kai Liang and others of the Kai family. Although he feared Li Xuanfeng somewhat and wouldn't deliberately target the Li family, he also wouldn't show mercy. Since Kai Liang had handed him leverage, Tang Shedu naturally had his own. He muttered, "If he still hasn't arrived, just note it down and send it to the main hall." He wasn't foolish enough to play the villain himself. It was better to let the Kai and Li families deepen their hatred. After confirming twice, a person below replied, "The Taoist arrived an hour ago and will soon pay respects to you, my lord." Tang Shedu, still basking in the sight of fleeing devil cultivators, looked up at a sky full of fiery red clouds to the south and grew suspicious. He was still thinking when he saw a man in white robes approaching him. The man was composed and elegant, carrying a deep blue fan at his waist and a sword on the other side. His complexion was slightly pale, but he spoke calmly, "Greetings, senior." Tang Shedu glanced sidelong at him but did not question him. Instead, he turned to another subordinate, asking, "What's happening in the south?" The subordinate answered in a low voice, "A cultivator has broken through to the Purple Mansion realm and became a Taoist master." Oh, Tang Shedu froze for a moment, but then the calm Li Zijai spoke, his tone slightly cold yet flawless. "Reporting to you, my lord, the cultivator in question is the Taoist master Tu Longjian of the Slaughter Jun Gate, who has achieved the Molten Fire divine ability." Tang Shedu's figure stiffened. He stood frozen for 2 seconds, his voice trembling as he asked, "Tu Longjian?" "Exactly." Li Zijai's cold words struck Tang Shedu's heart. He slowly turned to meet Li Zijai's calm gaze, and his heart trembled in shock. Tu Longjian. How could it be so fast? How could it be so fast? A shiver ran from his head to his toes. As he stared at Li Zijai, a sudden familiarity surged up. He pictured a pair of cold, ruthless eyes, and his heart grew colder. That's right. He is the direct son of Li Yuanjiao, Tu Longjian, and Tu Longjian killed that ruthless man and nearly severed my own path. How should I conduct myself now? What else can I do? Tang Shedu had once battled fiercely with Tu Longjian. He had even mocked him openly and killed Li Yunjiao by force. Now, when he recalled that youth's cold gaze, he felt a chill deep in his bones. Tang Shedu had long known the secrets of the Green Pine Temple's mirage mirror heaven. He knew that no matter how high people like Tu Longjian seemed to soar back then, they would ultimately perish, thus he had dared to offend them deeply. Who could have expected that Tu Longjian would still manage to escape with so many Purple Mansion realm cultivators overseeing the Great Void? It was utterly absurd. Tang Shedu didn't know whether there had been some scheme among the Purple Mansion realm cultivators, or if Tu Longjian had some powerful backer. He only understood that he had suddenly become expendable, and ice filled his heart. There was no need for him to turn or use spiritual sense. He could perfectly imagine the look on Li Zijai's face behind him. Tang Shedu cursed inwardly. "I really let my anger get the better of me when I avenged Yu Muxian, and now I've ended up in this miserable state." Tang Shedu slowly calmed himself and quickly began planning. "I must find a Purple Mansion realm backer, or else I'll open my eyes one day and molten fire will already be burning at my chest." Tang Shedu's expression was dark as Li Zijai watched him silently from behind. He was masking his inner turmoil, though inwardly he was overwhelmed by surging emotions. This was the first time he had seen Tang Shedu. The memory of Li Yuanjiao dying under this man's halberd had been etched deeply into his mind. Though he had never shown it outwardly, his hatred for Tang Shedu burned fiercely. "For now, I must bide my time. This man is not easy to deal with, and I mustn't ruin greater matters. But since he might do something, I must be on guard against him striking first." The two guarded against each other. They showed no changes on the surface nor exchanged any words, yet they were both silently calculating the other's intentions. Qujun Mountain. Qujun Mountain lay at the junction between Wu and Yue states. Tongmo Prefecture, held by the Chen family of Yuyang, lay to the north. Beyond that rose the southern foothills of Mount Dali, and it was only about 5,000 kilometers from Moongaze Lake. This area bordered the southern territories of the demonic creatures. Countless large and small demonic temples and shamanic kingdoms dotted the land further south, paying tribute to the demonic clans and serving as pasture grounds for great demonic beasts. Qujun Mountain had once been the stronghold of the Slaughter Jun Gate. It was originally treacherous, remote, and desolate terrain that was covered in cold iron and frigid stones, linking the shamanic kingdoms between Wu and Yue. Now the mountains were shrouded in hazy red mist that glowed and drifted between the ridges. The once frigid stones had transformed into a blazing crimson, sparking showers of fire. From afar, the entire mountain range seemed wrapped in a luminous, fiery glow. The cultivators of the shamanic kingdoms congratulate the Taoist master. Beams of Dharma light soared from the red mist, halting respectfully before the mountain, filled with awe at the crimson fog. After waiting a long while, a fiery wind finally swept down from the mountain's peak. The wind coalesced and spiraled until it formed a man in black robes. He was flanked by roaring gray-red and hazy flames that intertwined into waves of scorching winds. He stood before the mountain and spoke loudly, "Tu Longjian greets you all." As soon as his voice rang out, the cultivators were struck with terror, all falling to their knees as they cried out in fear, "Taoist master, you humble us. We dare not accept such a title." This Taoist master was, of course, Tu Longjian. Despite many hardships and the destruction of his gate in his youth, he retained a youthful spirit, always addressing fellow cultivators as equals, regardless of their cultivation level. When he was still at the Foundation Establishment realm, Qi Cultivation realm cultivators had merely felt uneasy at his courtesy. Now that he was a Taoist master, none dared let him address them as peers. Pure fear filled their hearts. The black-clad Tu Longjian gazed at the group of cultivators and said softly, "I am here to rebuild the Slaughter Jun Gate. When the devil plague swept through, our disciples fled and scattered, and their whereabouts are now unknown. If you encounter any Slaughter Jun Gate's disciples or those of our Tao lineage elsewhere, please guide them back to the gate. I will surely repay your kindness." The crowd timidly agreed. Tu Longjian nodded and turned to head back into the mountain, leaving the cultivators dumbfounded. No one had expected that he would neither demand tribute nor speak of power consolidation. He had only made a strange request before departing. Some among them wished to pledge allegiance to him, but none dared step into the red mist. After exchanging uneasy glances, they finally scattered like the wind. Barely a few seconds later, a bright light appeared before the mountains and a Taoist master manifested in the sky. It was a man with a kind, gentle appearance and willow leaf eyes, though his voice was deep and weighty as he said, "I am Cheng Xiao. May fellow Taoist Tu Longjian reveal himself." Before he was even finished, another figure appeared in the sky before the mountain. It was a woman in a simple, ancient Taoist robe, holding a parasol. She glanced coldly at Taoist master Cheng Xiao, but then said softly, "Bai Hengxing of Hengzhu Dao Gate congratulates the Taoist master on achieving divine ability." Chapter 794, Visitation and Gift I. Both Taoist masters revealed themselves at the same time. Taoist master Cheng Xiao glanced at Taoist master Hengxing with a faintly amused smile. Tu Longjian emerged from the red mist and looked up at the two purple mansion realm cultivators in the sky. He was neither humble nor arrogant as he said loudly, "I am Tu Longjian, courtesy named Junjian, and I have cultivated the molten fire divine ability. Greetings to the two esteemed seniors." Taoist master Cheng Xiao, with his willow leaf eyebrows and deep cultivation, seemed rather kindly disposed toward Tu Longjian. He had both hands clasped behind his back and spoke mildly, "So it is Taoist master Junjian. To have attained the purple mansion realm at such a young age, your talent is truly extraordinary. We are deeply impressed." Though he spoke politely, Taoist master Cheng Xiao himself was not very old. Known for his skill and decisiveness, he was one of the fastest cultivators to ascend to the purple mansion realm. Standing to the side, Taoist master Hengxing was displeased by Cheng Xiao's words and looked coldly at him, making her stance clear. It was only when she turned to Tu Longjian that her demeanor softened. She spoke in a gentle voice, "Congratulations, Taoist master Junjian. I am Taoist master Hengxing of Hengzhu Dao Gate. Our two sects lie just across the mountains from each other. Let us stay in close contact going forward." Taoist master Cheng Xiao did not show overt hostility toward Hengxing, but he remained silent with his hands behind his back while the latter spoke. Tu Longjian could see that the relationship between the two was strained, so he refrained from siding with either party and simply replied, "I have long heard of both your great names and should have come to pay my respects sooner. However, I have only just made my breakthrough and still have much to comprehend regarding my divine abilities, so I remained in the mountains." Both purple mansion realm cultivators caught the underlying meaning of his words. Cheng Xiao merely smiled without speaking, while Hengxing nodded and said, "Since you've just entered the purple mansion realm, you should take your time to understand your divine abilities. When you're free, Taoist master Junjian, you might consider heading north along the Great Void to visit Mount Baiyan." Though Tu Longjian had never left the mountain, he was not ignorant of the world. He had heard that Mount Baiyan was a battleground between immortal and demonic cultivators, with purple mansion realm cultivators clashing against Maha. He had long wished to contribute in some way, so he replied solemnly, "Understood." His words caused subtle changes in the two Taoist masters' expressions. Hengxing nodded in farewell and vanished, and Taoist master Cheng Xiao spoke again, "Taoist Junjian, you and I share a bit of fate after both escaping from the game board. I am a few years your senior, so allow me to offer you a word of advice." Tu Longjian remained calm, his expression unchanged by the words. He responded clearly, "Senior, please enlighten me." Cheng Xiao looked at him quietly. "Fellow Taoist, whatever you seized along the way, or whose favor you received, none of that matters now. After stepping into the purple mansion realm, the gains and losses of earlier moves on the chessboard are no longer important. But there are still a few items that must be accounted for. First is the purple mansion realm spirit artifact. Ordinary ones are of no concern, but the 6 Ding merging fire token is a great treasure, and the Guo family will not compromise on that. Tu Longjian nodded slightly, as if he had anticipated this, and offered a word of thanks. Cheng Xiao's willow leaf eyes stayed fixed on him as clear mist drifted off his robe. He spoke softly, "The jade box from Green Pine Temple is missing 2 items. You know where they are, don't you?" Tu Longjian's eyes flickered slightly, but Cheng Xiao continued calmly, "One is the taking and the other is the takesu. By now you surely understand the value of these 2 items. Azure Pawn Sect couldn't spare the resources in the past, and Zaipai believed the opportunity was limited, so they refused to act. However, now that you've stepped into the spotlight, you must either return them and curry favor with one of the sects, or act as if you never heard anything, refuse to return them and seek your own path." Tu Longjian listened to his words carefully and replied, "Thank you for your guidance, senior." Cheng Xiao gazed at him quietly and said softly, "There are many paths. Gu Shentong and I once chose different ones. Now we are enemies. Fellow Taoist, tread your own path wisely." When he was done speaking, he gradually faded away. In the distance, several figures appeared one by one. Among the figures were a golden-robed woman with a radiant smile, a stern old man with a rigid demeanor, a sinister-looking man, and a female immortal gently stroking her sword. The representative from Azure Pond sect was Taoist Yuan Ziu, who bowed to him meticulously. He seemed completely unconcerned by Cheng Xiao's earlier remarks. After a few polite words, he took his leave. The rest were from Golden Feather Sect, Purple Smoke Gate, Profound Peak Gate. Most of the 3 sects and 7 gates had arrived, all speaking with reasonable courtesy. Only Snowjai Gate and Yue Cultivating Sect were absent. Snowjai Gate has sealed its mountain for nearly 200 years, so their absence is understandable. As for Yue Cultivating Sect, they too have shut their gates. The few Purple Mansion Realm immortal families under their jurisdiction are busy with their own troubles, so it's unlikely they could spare the time to come. Neither of the 2 Purple Mansion Realm immortal families of Yue State showed up. Perhaps their Purple Mansion Realm cultivators were away from home. 2 Longjian stood there for a moment longer, and seeing no further appearances, finally descended back into the red mist. The cave dwelling within the mountain was entirely red, with even the tables and chairs tinted crimson. It was spacious, with several luminous spell pearls embedded in the ceiling. 2 Longjian entered, drew a blackened red command token from his sleeve, and spoke to it. "Senior, did you hear all that?" The command token flickered twice, releasing several strands of gray flame that circled in the air twice before returning to the token. 2 Longjian pressed 2 fingers together and placed them to his lips, fingertips facing inward just level with his nose. A faint light shimmered in his eyes and a stream of gray wind rose between his fingers. He gave a soft command, "Unruly molten fire, take human form." The gray wind swirled once through the cave, swept up the 6 Ding merging fire token, and upon landing, transformed into a gray-robed man. His eye sockets were deep, his cheeks were sunken, and his figure was small and lean. Once he stood firmly on the ground, he took a deep breath and exclaimed joyfully, "Nothing beats being human." Senior Guo. 2 Longjian was in no mood for chatter. He gave him a heavy look and asked in a low voice, "Is there still anything you're hiding from me?" The gray-robed man plopped down casually into a seat, took a large gulp of tea, and chuckled. "You've probably guessed most of it. Even with fate on your side, you wouldn't have made it this far so smoothly without help from the Purple Mansion Realm cultivators." 2 Longjian silently stared at him. The gray-robed man shrugged and said, "Cheng Xiao tried to hint at it, but I'll tell you straight, it was Crimson Reef Island." 2 Longjian's expression darkened bit by bit as he growled, "So, the 6 Ding merging fire token was deliberately delivered to me by Guo. And all your promises and schemes, Guo were at the will of Guo Shentong. Embedding your soul into the token was also a way to plot against me." Guo burst into laughter as he replied, "Nonsense. Guo Shentong hasn't been seen in years. He could be dead in some forgotten corner. Crimson Reef Island says his soul lamp still burns bright with no signs of weakening, but who knows if that's even his soul lamp. As for Guo Hongyao, she doesn't even have half an ounce of cunning. She wouldn't know intentional from unintentional. She's just another pawn sacrificed in factional strife. The east and west reefs of Crimson Reef Island are constantly at odds. By letting this spirit artifact fall into your hands, clearly one faction hopes for my return to unify them. As for which one, I haven't the slightest clue." 2 Longjian remained silent, but Guo continued, "Their calculations were precise. Either I seize your body, or gain a powerful ally through gratitude. There's no downside for them." The gray-robed man took several more sips of tea, delightedly savoring its taste, and said cheerfully, 2 Longjian, I truly mean you no harm. Once I've formed a real body and unified Crimson Reef Island, what problem couldn't the 2 of us solve together? Chapter 795, Visitation and Gift, II, Tongmo Prefecture. Li Qinglio stood atop drifting clouds, his feet treading on shimmering currents of air. The white ape, now transformed into an old man, silently rode the cloud beside him. When news of 2 Longjian breaking through to the Purple Mansion realm reached them, the Li family had deliberated carefully. Given the current instability of the area, Li Ziming was not suited to make an appearance, and Li Xiaowei had yet to reach the Foundation establishment realm. It seemed more proper for the family head, Li Qinglio, to go instead. Moreover, Li Qinglio had grown up within the family and had never seen the outside world. He had spent his days in secluded cultivation. Now, since there was nothing urgent at hand, he was quite pleased to venture out. He was looking forward to the experience. The Yangchen family of Tongmo Prefecture was below his feet. It had many mortals and was vibrant with life. Having governed his own household for many years, Li Qinglio nodded in approval at the orderly buildings and well-kept courtyards. The Chen family was also a renowned great family. Setting aside the Yuyang's Chen family, Lingyu Gate had once borne the same surname. However, the two had different origins. The Yuyang branch had lived here for generations, while the founder of Lingyu Gate had seemingly migrated from Ning State. It was the same with the Li family. Rumor had it there was another Li family in Wu State that had lived there for generations. while the Moongaze Li family was thought to be a remnant lineage from the north. However, the Chen family's position was far better than that of the Li family. As long-established locals, they had kin in nearly every sect. Though they had only one Purple Mansion realm cultivator, they maintained good relations with all major factions. Seeing Li Qinglao lost in thought, the white ape who rarely spoke said a few words. Patriarch, the Chen family from Lijiang within our household has excellent blood. They must be related to these two Chen branches. Li Qinglao naturally understood. He had been deeply impressed by Chen Yang's innate talent and simply replied, "We can look into it when the chance arises. But I've heard those secret techniques are linked to the Purple Mansion realm, so it is not likely to be easy to uncover." The two soon crossed out of Yue State as they conversed. The mountains grew treacherous and were now often shrouded in miasma. The forests became tall and shadowy, with demonic qi rising skyward from time to time, accompanied by roars and howls. Quzhen Mountain lay on the southern border. Though neither the man nor the beast had visited before, they recognized it at a glance. It was unmistakable. Quzhen Mountain glowed crimson amid the encircling green miasma, sending red light soaring skyward. The phenomenon from a Purple Mansion realm breakthrough had yet to fully dissipate. Deep in the night, the mountaintop was clear of clouds, but it was surrounded by a distant haze of crimson mist, with cultivators flying in and out in great numbers. It was an exceptionally lively scene. The two cultivators halted at the foot of the mountain, where a proper gate had already been erected. They stood before it in a disciplined manner, and were promptly invited to ascend. As they walked up the path, everything was orderly and clearly organized by function. Though the cave dwellings were somewhat crude, the effort put into them was evident. Li Qinglao was slightly surprised and thought to himself, remarkable. Though Tu Longjian was a solitary figure, it was clear that he had formed deep bonds and gathered many trusted subordinates. He clearly had enough people to support the structure of an entire gate. While Li Qinglao observed the organization of the Slaughter Jun Gate cultivators, the white ape looked on with a far more complex expression. He silently watched the cultivators rush about amid this illusion of order. Li Qinglao handed the jade box in his hand to the approaching cultivator and said softly, "The Qingdu Li family presents the Tai Fire Longfruit to congratulate the Taoist master on attaining the Purple Mansion realm." As he spoke, he gently brushed the surface of the jade box. Its pristine white surface slowly grew transparent, revealing the item within. A slender fruit was wreathed in flickering flame, glowing with a hazy brilliance. Intense fire energy danced within the box. It was indeed a rare and treasured panacea. This item had been obtained years ago from the Yu family treasury. The purple lion Bodhai had already been given to King Heng, the wide-eyed monk who had gratefully accepted it. The Tai Fire Longfruit was a treasure of fire virtue, most likely even born of molten fire, which made it the perfect gift. Such a valuable and well-chosen gift earned approving glances from Tu Longjian's welcoming subordinates. They took careful note of it before respectfully withdrawing. The white ape opened the cave dwelling's door and announced in a gravelly voice, "Family head, make ready. Once your name is reported, the Taoist master will certainly come to meet you." Li Qinglao nodded and took a seat, but inwardly he was still conflicted. It said the Taoist master was close to uncle, but we already requested his help at Green Pine Temple. It cost us a great deal of goodwill. That elder is now gone, and the Taoist master has no ties to the others in our family. Hatred lasts a century, but favors are thin as paper. Our ancestor has passed on. Though some ties may remain, if we seek this Taoist master's help again, even the last remnants of connection may fade. Li Tangya's death had severely damaged the ties between the Li and Zhao families. Everyone in the Li family had seen this clearly. After Zhao Gilwen's fall, things had only worsened by the day. How could Li Qinglao not weigh this in his heart? After waiting for about 15 minutes, there came 2 gentle knocks at the door of the cave dwelling, followed by hearty laughter. A man in black appeared. "Is this a visit from the Li family?" A black-robed youth with a hearty smile and a crisp, well-fitted outfit emerged before Li Qinglao. Deep crimson patterns adorned his cuffs as he strode confidently into the cave dwelling. "Junior greets the Taoist master." Tu Longjian had a youthful appearance, with a plain and ordinary look. Only a faint haze at the center of his brows hinted at something unusual about him. He was cordial and easygoing, perhaps due to his newly acquired divine ability, without the aloofness typical of most Purple Mansion cultivators. But in the end, he was a Purple Mansion realm cultivator. The moment he stepped into the cave, a stifling heat and subtle suffocation swept through the space. His oppressive pressure instantly filled the room. Li Qinglao stepped forward to bow, but before he could complete the motion, Tu Longjian helped him up. Feeling slightly reassured, he saw the young man smile and say, "Your family truly went to great lengths. The Tai Fire Longfruit is quite rare these days. This gift is far too generous." Tu Longjian knew something about the Li family's situation. Though it had improved from years past, offering up such a treasured panacea was no easy matter. His tone carried a faint sigh as he continued. A small token would have sufficed. With no gesture from him, the cave door closed. The young cultivator took a seat and said softly, "Since our parting at Green Pine, I've been fleeing west and hiding east, entering seclusion everywhere to seek a breakthrough. I haven't yet visited your family to pay respects to the elder. That was my failing." No matter how courteous Tu Longjian was, Li Qinglao did not dare sit. He simply poured tea for his senior. Seeing this, Tu Longjian didn't insist, and instead spoke in a low voice. "Regarding you, Muxian of Green Pine Temple, did Azure Pond sect give your family any trouble?" He lifted his gaze slightly, seemingly lost in thought as a chill crept into his expression. He asked, "It can't be that Tang Shedu is still stirring up trouble behind the scenes and holding a grudge against your family, can it?" Chapter 796, One Side Eye, Reporting to the Taoist Master. After the incident at Green Pine Temple, Yunwu hastily perished. That villain could barely manage his own affairs and had no opportunity to trouble our family. Li Qinglao answered respectfully. Tu Longjian nodded slightly, resting one hand on the table as he spoke. Yunwu was rash and venomous. He certainly suffered before his death. Yunwu Peak has always been a mess. His temperament was such that even his own people feared him. Li Qinglao noticed that Tu Longjian seemed surprisingly familiar with Yunwu, and even with the Tang and Yu families, causing his heart to stir slightly. But Tu Longjian had already sunk into deep thought. Back then, Gu Yu Ziuxian, Zhang Lingshu, Cheng Mianfu, and Zhang Quotian entered Mirage Mirror Heaven together. Disputes arose midway, causing most of them to perish, with only a few managing to escape. Gu claimed Yunwu forced him into hiding. Since he was gravely wounded and near death, he had no choice but to refine himself into the 6 Ding Merging Fire token. He had fallen into slumber and was carried out by Zhang Lingshu. But how exactly did Zhang Lingshu die? He said that before he entered Changming Hall, there was another cushion beside the steps outside the hall, with a jade box atop it that had been taken by Zhang Quotian. Now it's lost and missing. And where did the jade stone Zhang Lingshu took end up? When Cheng Mianfu died, who took his spirit sword, though Tu Longjian treated his friends with great kindness, he was not without vigilance. His mind flashed with sharp thoughts, though on the surface he merely sipped his tea. His gaze paused briefly on the white ape, and his train of thought abruptly cut off. This one is. Tu Longjian's pupils turned slightly red as he activated his Purple Mansion Realm divine ability. Memories surged to the surface, and he suddenly stood up, asking, "Have you once come to this mountain?" The white ape neither humbled himself nor showed arrogance. He bowed and said, "This old ape had the fortune to pound medicine here for over a decade and has indeed seen the Taoist master before." "So it is true," exclaimed Tu Longjian. The white ape looked entirely different from his past self, but his aura was faintly similar. Tu Longjian used his divine sense to compare the one before him to his memories. He felt a ripple of emotion and said deeply, "So you've had quite the fortune. You've even reached the Foundation Establishment realm, and with true chi at that. Why don't you tell me about it?" The white ape bowed deeply and said solemnly, reporting to the Taoist master, "After the gate was broken, this white ape was captured by the Yu family, shackled with cold iron collars and flogged with iron whips. I encountered a demonic disaster in the marketplace, but I was fortunately rescued by my current master and have been under his protection ever since." Tu Longjian lowered his brows, his voice slightly hoarse as he said, "When the devil cultivators attacked the gate master escorted me along the hidden path, then turned back on his own. I had intended to return and check on things, but I was discovered and pursued by devil cultivators. I barely escaped 500 kilometers away and managed to kill the pursuer by sheer luck, but I do not know what became of the gate afterward." The white ape's voice was deep as he replied, "The gate master fought 3 enemies alone and was forcibly refined alive. The junior uncle had his head severed at the foot of the mountain. As demonic smoke billowed, the devil cultivators even used his head to devour the senior brother. Very soon, all our cultivators perished. I managed to escort the second young lady a few kilometers away, but my mana failed midair. We fell from the sky. I shattered half my body, and the second young lady also perished. I lay in the mud for a long time. Fortunately, since the devil cultivators were rampaging and scattering the demon beasts, no demonic creature came to eat me. I clawed my way out with my hands, drank a few mouthfuls of muddy water, and dug a cave to survive by sheer luck." Tu Longjian remained silent for more than a dozen breaths. When he spoke again, his voice was choked. "What about my father?" At this point, the white ape's voice could no longer remain steady. As a hoarseness crept in, the guardian's body was tough and well-liked by the devil cultivators. They carried him across the mountains while he was still alive. As I lay dying below, I heard the devil cultivators laughing and drinking as they divided up his flesh. Their voices only disappeared once they reached the horizon. Tu Longjian closed his eyes. Li Qinglao felt his heart pounding wildly and the soles of his feet burning. Blood rushed to his head, and a hazy brilliance flickered twice in the Taoist master's palm before extinguishing. Sensing his discomfort, Tu Longjian forced the abnormal phenomena to fade away. Only after a full 15 minutes did Tu Longjian open his eyes and speak softly, "I understand. You'll come with me into the mountains." Point out each place. You and I will use divine methods to see if we can find any remains." The white ape glanced at Li Qinglao, who nodded his consent. Only then did he follow Tu Longjian out. The young Taoist master left behind only a single instruction: "Qinglao, wait here. Soon, someone will invite you up to the mountain feast." Li Qinglao saw them off. Only then did the sweat pouring down his face begin to subside. When he looked down, he saw the bluestone beneath him flickering faintly with red light. Molten fire and valley water. They are already extremely rare today. Their power is daunting, especially in the hands of a Purple Mansion realm cultivator. He would have liked to remain inside the cave dwelling, but the heat was unbearable, since it even forced his mana to evaporate and scatter. Unable to endure it, he stepped outside in just 2 strides and patiently waited before the stone gate. Li Qinglao paused for a moment, and sure enough, someone rode the wind down, showing great respect as he said politely, "The banquet on the mountain has been prepared. Fellow Taoist, please proceed to take your seat." Li Qinglao naturally understood that Foundation Establishment Realm and Qi Cultivation Realm cultivators had to take their seats early at grand occasions like this. They would often wait 3 to 4 hours before the Purple Mansion Realm cultivators made their appearance. The current situation is unusual. There will likely be fewer Purple Mansion guests this time. As he pondered silently, he saw a group descend through the wind ahead of him. They all wore brilliant green Dharma robes and dazzling white jade crowns while carrying extraordinary Dharma artifacts. Immortal envoys from Azure Pond sect, presenting treasured panaceas and spirit artifacts to congratulate the Taoist master. When he heard the announcements ahead, Li Qinglao realized these were cultivators from Azure Pond sect. Each was youthful and spirited and spoke elegantly. Their graceful leader was likely someone from the Kai family. Li Qinglao did not rush to take his seat but quietly observed from a corner. As the leader sat down and eagerly spoke with a boy beside him, Li Qinglao's gaze was instantly drawn to the youth to the Kai family member's left. The youth exuded a wild, unruly air, with one hand resting on the table and one foot propped on the nearby seat's cushion. His expression was careless, his eyebrows sharp and long and his eyes slightly narrow. If he were to look serious, he would appear quite fierce. He found the youth's face vaguely familiar, so Li Qinglao feigned looking for a seat and walked past their table, catching the Kai family member's laughter. "Yuanqin, your cultivation has made great progress these past few days. Truly worthy of being the son of the immortal Bo." The words floated softly into Li Qinglao's ears, and he immediately reacted, his heart surging with both joy and shock at him. The careless youth scanned the seats as if searching for something and casually said, "The old man refuses to teach me real skills, so what's the point? Brother Fubo, we might as well talk of other things. Kai Fuju has gone to the northern cave-dwelling ruins, and here we are stuck eating and drinking." His words made Li Qinglao's heart sink. Kai Fubo's expression instantly darkened as he set down his jade cup, his voice lowering. "You're right, Yuanqin, but even now the main branch holds 9 peaks among the 36. It won't be easy to surpass him. I tried the plan we discussed, but my uncle does harbor some doubts about him." Chapter 797, One Side II. Afraid of being discovered, Li Qinglao quickly moved away. A white mist gradually descended on the banquet, muffling all conversation. Only once he reached the far end did he cautiously look back. He saw the white mist slowly enveloping everything. He accidentally locked eyes with the youth's arrogant, venomous gaze through a gap in the clouds. The carefree youth was idly stirring a few spirit fruits with a pair of jade chopsticks. Li Qinglao's heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, the youth didn't seem to notice him. He was merely lost in thought, his lips moving slightly, his expression sharp before soon looking away. As the mist thickened, Li Qinglao moved toward the banquet seats. That piercing gaze was still vivid in his mind, leaving a chaotic mix of emotions in his heart. Mount Baiyan, Li Xuanfeng had just exited seclusion. As he sipped a cup of tea in the grand hall, Ning Heiyuan hurriedly approached. Ning Heiyuan drew close, but was startled by the sight of the middle-aged man before him. It took him a careful look to realize it was Li Xuanfeng. When he took in the sharp brows, fierce aura, and the faint platinum radiance emanating from the latter's body, he quickly congratulated him. "Congratulations, brother-in-law, on your great advancement in strength. It's as if you've regained your youth." Li Xuanfeng was still unaccustomed to his current appearance. He lowered his brows slightly, but even with no expression, his face exuded a vibrant and fierce spirit. He replied, "No need for courtesy. How long have I been in seclusion? Has anything happened?" "Less than half a year." Ning Heiyuan quickly said quietly. Tang Shedu seized the opportunity after Chuoba Changyun's death to launch a surprise attack on Baixiang Valley, reclaiming most of the lost territory and even pushing in a few kilometers further. Afterwards, fierce battles broke out with both North and South suffering losses, but there have been no major changes since. However, over the past few months, the Devil cultivators have suffered repeated setbacks, losing many cultivators. Several cave-dwelling ruins have also fallen from the sky. 2 of them are quite large, covering 50 kilometers each, and have drawn many to fight for their opportunities. Li Xuanfeng nodded lightly. From the way Ning Heiyuan had rushed over, he guessed that there was likely something important waiting to be said. Sure enough, after just seconds, Ning Heiyuan said in a serious tone, "Brother-in-law, the devil cultivators, specifically the Murong family, have had 2 new arrivals. Their cultivation is said to be formidable. It's likely that the devil cultivators will push south again within the next 2 months. Kai Jian has asked me several times about you. He may be plotting something." Li Xuanfeng was in no hurry. Instead, he changed the subject and asked, "How goes the reforging of the spirit armor?" Ning Heiyuan suddenly realized and answered, "Of course, it's ready. I'll have someone bring it to you right away." After giving a few instructions, Ning Heiyuan turned back and said, "Brother-in-law, in the past half-year, Jiangnan has gained 2 new Taoist masters." Ning Heiyuan described them both. Tu Longjian naturally needed no introduction, while the other was an immortal cultivator from Wu State's Nai family who had attained the Purple Mansion realm. Since they were located on the far western edge of Wu State, near the Great Western Plains, there had been little commotion about it. With Tu Longjian's breakthrough, certain people surely aren't sleeping easy anymore, said Li Xuanfeng. A faint smile broke through Li Xuanfeng's somber expression. After all, this was rare good news for the Li family. Gaining another allied Purple Mansion realm cultivator could save several lives and help avoid many future humiliations. Reporting to the Taoist, "My lord summons you." Members of the Kai family arrived swiftly just as he finished speaking. Before their words had even faded away, 2 men approached, carrying a suit of platinum-colored armor that shone brilliantly with a faint layer of whitish glow. Though the armor had yet to be named, Li Xuanfeng had specifically instructed that many bright yang treasures be used in its forging, most of which he had personally exchanged for. It had drained more than half the wealth of his storage pouch. Li Xuanfeng didn't have time to examine the armor carefully. He simply stored it away and strode out. Ning Heiyuan closely followed, and together they rode the wind to land before the main hall. Kai Jian was studying a map when he saw the 2 arrive. He casually gestured, prompting Ning Heiyuan to tactfully withdraw. Kai Jian then warmly approached Li Xuanfeng and asked, "What kind of immortal foundation have you obtained, Taoist?" Li Xuanfeng nodded slightly on the surface, but inwardly his thoughts sharpened. Either Kai Jian knows exactly what type of Zheng metal triple chi pill it was, or there is definitely a shared understanding among Azure Ponsec's true core members regarding this matter. "It is the heavenly gilded helm," replied Li Xuanfeng. Kai Jian nodded in satisfaction and said joyfully, "As expected of a true master, the heavenly gilded helm is exceptional. Combined with Senior Xuanfeng's archery, those devil cultivators surely won't return alive." Li Xuanfeng cupped his hands in acknowledgement. Kai Jian pulled him forward and lightly circled a patch of forest on the map. "This is Chengshui Tomb, once the royal mausoleum of Ning State. The terrain is flat, but the spiritual energy is dense, making it ideal for setting up formations. That's why the Murong family's devil cultivators are stationed there. This time, since more devil cultivators have descended from the Murong family, it must be Senior Xuanfeng who breaks through. You'll take the forces I've selected and advance upriver. I've already ordered Tang Shedu to attack from another side, and Yu Su will cut them off from the south." His gaze was fervent as he said in a low voice, "Chuoba Chongyuan made us suffer a great defeat. Now it's time to strike back." Li Xuanfeng immediately understood it wouldn't be an easy task. He sighed inwardly and asked, "May I ask which forces I am to lead?" Kai Jian smiled at him. "Troops from Mount Yan Pass. These cultivators have fought many victorious battles recently, earning considerable merit while sustaining the fewest injuries. Li Qinghong, Lingu Lanying, and others among them are outstanding Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators." Li Xuanfeng's heart grew cold. He thought to himself, "So they mean to send all the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators of my family into battle. Well, better they serve under my command than under Tang Shedu or Yusu. At least I can protect them somewhat. Besides, once I take on this task, I likely won't need to leave seclusion for at least another year or 2. Studying the map carefully, he saw that the 3 forces would neatly encircle the devil cultivators. Even if the devil cultivators broke apart and fled, they would only collide with Yu Su's troops, ensuring the Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators mobilized from Mount Yan Pass would not be placed in undue danger. At least Kai Jian doesn't want to see his forces wasted pointlessly. That's why he's entrusted the Li family's Foundation Establishment Realm cultivators to me. As for Li Zizhai, now under Tang Shedu's command, it was the old trick of forcing mutual support. Glancing at his own roster, Li Xuanfeng saw it indeed included quite a few members from the Tang and Yu families. After discussing a few more details with Kai Jian, Li Xuanfeng nodded in agreement, took a command token, and rode the wind outside. Ning Heiyuan had been waiting before the hall for some time. Li Xuanfeng didn't waste words. He tossed him the roster and said in a deep voice, "Order all cultivators from Mount Yan Pass to report to me here within 3 days. Chapter 798, Depart I. Mount Yan Pass. Li Qinghong had only been cultivating at the pass for a few months when an order from Azure Pond Sect arrived. It It was then passed along within the pass until it reached Zhao Tingui of Moon Lake Peak. The man rode the wind to the peak of the pass, bringing a group of people in tow. Li Qinghang came out of her cave dwelling to greet him. The white-robed Zhao Tingui gestured for the others to stay outside the main hall and entered alone. His expression was calm, but Li Qinghang sensed his mood was low and softly said, "Taoist friend Tingui, I wouldn't dare. Senior is too courteous." All of Zhao Tingui's foundation establishment realm cultivators at Mount Yan Pass were being transferred out. He had no idea how many would be lost at Chengshui Tomb, which placed immense pressure on him. On top of that, he had to explain the situation to the families and factions of these cultivators, which was an utterly messy affair. How could he explain the inevitable casualties to everyone? They'd just end up transferring more foundation establishment realm cultivators, and he would be the one making enemies. They wouldn't dare hate Azure Pond's sect, so wouldn't they then direct that hatred toward him? He wasn't the kind of person who liked making enemies, but he was being forced into this role. Naturally, he felt extremely irritated inside, yet he remained polite and said, "I received the sect's order to transfer everyone. After reading it, I saw how urgent it was and rushed over at once." Li Qinghang acknowledged him, and Zhao Tingui sighed, "One cannot shirk the sect's orders. Please take care, Senior. After all, we now share fortune and misfortune. My junior brother just fell in battle. I truly don't want anything else to happen." Li Qinghang nodded and simply replied, "I'll be heading north. I'll trouble you to look after Yuexiang." She didn't know who would be leading the northern expedition, nor how dangerous it might be. She had already prepared herself for the possibility of dying. Worried about Li Yuexiang, she said a little more, and Zhao Tingui replied with a serious expression, "Please be at ease, Senior. I have always treated her as one of my own Peak's disciples." When he saw the lingering worry on Li Qinghang's face, Zhao Tingui paused for a moment, then spoke solemnly, "My parents passed away early. Though I do not claim to be a good person, I've always regarded my Peak's disciples as my own siblings. Since I've promised your esteemed family, I will certainly keep my word." Li Qinghang let him speak. Still, the order had been marked as urgent, and there was no time to delay. She exited the cave dwelling, summoned Li Wushao and Qingheng, and broke through the sky toward Mount Baiyan. In recent years, Qingheng had spoken less and less, seemingly growing increasingly immersed in silent cultivation. Li Wushao, as usual, wore a serious expression. It was only at this moment that Li Qinghang found a chance to speak with him in detail. As they rode the wind, she softly said, "About that matter with the white serpent Gar, Lanying feels deeply apologetic. After all, affection must go both ways." "My lord." Li Wushao was momentarily startled before he understood, then rasped, "We serpents are not like humans. We don't concern ourselves with mutual affection. If the scent cannot arouse desire, then it simply cannot. Even if emotions run deep, it's all empty talk if the body doesn't respond. There is no such thing as mutual affection for us, my lord. You overthink it." His words caught Li Qinghang by surprise, leaving her stunned for a second. Li Wushao continued calmly, "This was already common when I was in the Eastern Sea. The high-ranking pristine water white snakes had difficulty bearing offspring, so they took on hundreds of wives and concubines. The lower-ranking valley water gray snakes and water mansion black snakes served as their mates, producing offspring like grains of sand. It's not so bad with higher cultivation. But when one's cultivation is low, even if two snakes are in love, a single call from a white snake is enough to make them lose their minds and run off to be his consort." Li Wushao's expression turned complicated, as if many words were lodged in his throat. He said quietly, "It seems there's still discrimination by bloodline even after forming my foundation establishment. My father once said that our kind, the hooked serpents, would be better off dull and ignorant, but to possess human-like intelligence and yet be unable to resist our physical instincts, that is our greatest sorrow." Li Qinghang looked away as she listened, unsure how to comfort him. Li Wushao continued softly, "Even if there is mutual affection, once we return to our true forms and inhale each other's scent, we feel instantly repulsed. Disgust wells up uncontrollably from the heart. Such is the nature of us demonic creatures." Qingheng, who had been silent, finally opened his eyes and said with a hint of heaviness, "It's not just demons, humans, too, are not necessarily above such things." Qingheng's words made Li Qinghang think of her family's heir. She fell into silent reflection, and Li Wushao said no more. This incident might have been a minor matter in the world of hooked serpents, but it had led Lingu Lanying to personally pay a visit which had embarrassed Li Wushao. The chance to freely speak his thoughts now gave the old serpent much relief. The group rode the wind and quickly descended into the mountains. Most of the cultivators had already arrived, and many familiar faces could be seen. Li Qinghang looked up. A middle-aged man with black hair and golden robes stood at the highest position. His brows were sharp and fierce, and he exuded menace, as if he might transform into a tiger or leopard and pounce at any moment. Golden light rippled across his body. He held a grand, ornate golden bow in his large, powerful hand. He stood alone atop the stone platform, with core disciples of the immortal sect bowing beside him and Foundation establishment realm cultivators of all families paying their respects. Uncle, the sight brought Li Qinghong back to decades ago in an instant. Her father Li Xuanling had still been alive, and Li Xunfeng was the family's most gifted cultivator, newly ascended with high spirits. She had gone up the mountain with her elder brother Li Yuanxiu, while her second brother Li Yunjiao laughed and praised Li Xunfeng's godlike archery skills. Even before she had seen him, Li Qinghong had already looked forward to meeting him. She lowered her eyes and silently thought, Uncle may have had another breakthrough. Chapter 799, Depart II. Li Xunfeng waited in the mountains for a moment, and the cultivators arrived as ordered. He glanced around and saw Li Qinghong and the others present as well. The white serpent was present, and the woman beside it was likely Lingu Lanying. On the other side stood several cultivators from the Ning family, 2 disciples from Moon Lake Peak, a few guest cultivators that the Azure Pond sect had recalled from the eastern and southern seas, and 3 representatives from the Golden Feather sect. In total, there were 16 Foundation establishment realm cultivators. Naturally, those in the Qi cultivation realm and embryonic breathing realm had been drawn from the mountain's own ranks. Their numbers were few because they weren't much use in battle. Moreover, the Azure Pond sect refused to send out core sect disciples. After years of internal upheaval, it was difficult to mobilize many Qi or embryonic breathing realm cultivators at all. Midnight approaches. Everyone, let us depart, Li Xuanfeng commanded, and his own family members responded immediately. The guest cultivators from Azure Pond sect and the Golden Feather sect, mostly seasoned veterans, were respectfully deferent and came over at his word. He drew a jade vessel from his sleeve. It was the Ning family's ever-flowing jade cloudliner that belonged to Ning Wan. He tossed it lightly into the air and it instantly expanded into a massive boat. Everyone boarded one after another. Ning Heiyuan, slightly slower to move, took to the skies with him. He threw out a piece of gauze from his sleeve, which shrouded everyone's figures, and then smiled. Well then, everyone, why don't we talk a bit? Li Xuanfeng had already been observing for a while. The guest cultivators the Azure Pond sect had sent were all assimilated cultivators from the Eastern Sea. Their strength was mediocre, but at least they had experience dealing with devil cultivators and were skilled in survival techniques. Though they wouldn't do much in a direct fight, they could still stall a few devil cultivators. Only the 3 from the Golden Feather sect were of real interest. One carried a talisman sword on his back and claimed to be Zhuang Cheng, a cultivator from the Smoke Valley Desert. Another was a man over 200 years old, also from Smoke Valley, who called himself Lin Shao. The last one was an old Taoist who looked like he was only there to make up the numbers. He seemed to have only just entered the Foundation establishment realm and had a visibly unsteady aura. He called himself Bai Yinzi of Smoke Valley and constantly wore a bitter expression. The Golden Feather sect differed from the Azure Pond sect in several ways. It was looser in its control over techniques and essence-gathering pills, imposed less exploitation from above, and also had stricter checks on forced annexation. Many great families had continued for centuries under its rule, and they clearly had more cultivators in the Qi cultivation realm than the Azure Pond sect. Moreover, the families under the Azure Pond sect still hadn't recovered from the persecution and chaos under Kai Wei before his death. The former generation of prodigies had been wiped out, and the new generation was unwilling to be handed over to the Azure Pond sect so easily. With such a shift in tides, even their Foundation establishment realm numbers now lagged far behind. As for the rumor that most Dao lineages in Yue State stem from the 6 sons of Changming Hall, making them more refined and highly competitive to the point where their elites often surpass those from Wu State. Who knows if it's true or not, but judging by the 2 before us, their strength seems decent enough. As Li Xuanfeng pondered, the others, including Li Qinghong, introduced themselves. Suddenly, Bai Yinzi's eyes lit up, and he leaned in close to Li Qinghong, lowering his voice. Sirs and madams, this humble one is a cultivator from a small temple in Smoke Valley. Senior Dong He visited us back in the day. He even stayed there for quite a while. Li Qinghong immediately realized he was referring to the place where their family had collected the Golden Yang Radiant Origin. However, she had never seen this person before and couldn't verify his claims, so she simply nodded politely and let it pass. Bai Yinzi had no choice but to sit back down at her polite but non-committal response and listen as the others in the boat began to chat. The Golden Feather sect cultivators were all experienced. In particular, Lin Shao was a veteran of over 200 years. He quickly struck up a conversation with several Eastern Sea cultivators. After some back and forth, they began to understand one another better. After a brief moment, Ning Heiyuan spoke in a deep voice. Everyone, we're heading to Chengshui Tomb this time to clash with the devil cultivators of the Murong family. These aren't your ordinary devil cultivators, so I urge you to stay vigilant. Although the direct descendants of the Murong family would be handled by Li Xuanfeng and Tang Shedu, the other devil cultivators were not to be underestimated. Fearing the others might grow careless, Ning Heiyuan added, "Are any of you familiar with Changshui Tomb?" None of the cultivators answered, until Lin Shao's eyes slowly rose to meet Ning Heiyuan's. He said hoarsely, "It is the royal tomb of the Ning state's imperial lineage, and was once fortified by ancient formation arrays. Several centuries ago, Duke Su of Su State broke through the formation in alliance with local clans and looted all the spirit treasure. It's probably just a hollow shell now, but the spiritual energy inside remains rich, and since the local sects that once held it fled overseas, it's become the perfect place to hold and trap the devil cultivators." Ning Heiyuan nodded and said, "Senior, your insight is impressive." Lin Shao gave a faint chuckle and replied, "I once trained there in my early years. There are rumors that a grotto heaven lies hidden within Ning State, and someone once entered it through Changshui Tomb. However, I cannot say whether it's true or not." Ning Heiyuan was genuinely startled. What he thought was mere flattery now seemed to carry real weight. Still, he offered a non-committal response. "Such rumors do exist." Lin Shao stroked his beard and said no more, but Zhuang Cheng, the one with the talisman sword on his back, spoke in a deep, steady voice. "After all, Duke Su died suddenly not long after breaking the formation. There must be strange evils lurking within Changshui Tomb. If those devil cultivators exploit it, we'll be lucky to suffer only minor losses. If the tide turns, the consequences could be far worse." Lin Shao nodded approvingly and said, "Fellow Taoist Zhuang is absolutely right. Su State's immortal cultivation began its decline from that very point. It weakened by the day, until even the once glorious Golden Tang Gate fell into decline. That eventually led to the southern push by the Buddhist cultivators and the intervention of true monarch Shang Yuan. At that time, Shang Yuan was merely a Taoist master, but he had now advanced to become a true monarch, a figure spoken of like legend. Naturally, he could only be addressed as true monarch now. When Lin Shao mentioned true monarch Shang Yuan, several people's expressions turned complicated. As a member of the Golden Feather sect, he himself wasn't deeply moved, but many present had personally held off the Buddhist cultivators and witnessed Shang Yuan's power firsthand. It stirred much emotion within them. Lingu Laniang nodded lightly as she listened, the jade-green hairpins swaying behind her. She spoke gently. "The Murong family's belly-born heads are quite well known. Many of their techniques excel in fighting the many with the few, so you all must be careful." As they conversed, Li Qinghong remained silently observant. She soon noticed the mist outside the boat growing denser. Demonic energy was drifting about, and mountains were rising and falling in the distance. The thunder pool in her chi-si began to stir restlessly, clearly agitated by the surging aura of monsters and demons. Changshui Tomb. Li Qinghong peered through the mist using her eye technique and vaguely saw ruins below. Several streaks of demonic light drifted within the clouds, moving back and forth as though searching for something. She studied the terrain closely and realized she might have been here before. When she had once used a ritual altar to call thunder, she had visited many sites throughout Su State to collect lightning, and this place seemed familiar. This wasn't called Changshui Tomb in the altar's records, but rather Anhui Prefecture in Wei State. Looks like Ning State was founded after Wei fell and repurposed this site as a royal tomb, thought Li Qinghong. Back then, there had been a few sects in the area that maintained a power balance and they treated her, merely a foundation establishment realm cultivator back then, politely. There must be several geomantic lines that made the area traversable, and quite a few cave dwellings as well. These devil cultivators are likely holed up inside. This place is also close to Mount Tangdao, where the Golden Tang Gate resides. The group gradually fell silent. Li Xunfeng stood with his bow on his back as he gazed intently into the distance. The command token in his hand flickered with light as though drawing something toward it. Soon, the command token's light reached its peak and runes appeared one by one. Li Xunfeng studied them carefully, calculated the distance, then took the bow from his back. He spoke in a deep voice, "Tang Shedu and the others have arrived. Everyone prepare yourselves." Sure enough, just as he finished speaking, a white light rose within the distant fog. A massive white human head floated into the sky, its enormous bluish-black eye sockets wide open, while two bloodshot red eyes peered out from within. Bloody tears dripped down its cheeks, and its pale fangs gleamed with a ghostly white light. "How dare you!" The giant head immediately opened its mouth, its neat rows of teeth spreading like doors. Countless bluish-black dots of light gushed forth, swarming through the air and transforming into snakes, insects, ants, and scorpions. They fell like a monsoon rain, sprouting wings and dispersing in search of prey. Li Qinghong had once seen Murong Zia, the reincarnation of a Maha. The belly-born head that the monk had released wasn't this large. It had expelled the living souls of people that were capable of speaking, laughing, and even thanking Murong Zia. Murong Zia was a Maha after all. His belly had been cultivated to the level of a blessed land. This Murong family descendant, by contrast, is far inferior. One glance and it's clear this is just a demonic technique. Clarity dawned in Li Qinghong's heart. Meanwhile, Li Xunfeng's eyes narrowed. The ferocity of his expression was terrifying enough in his current middle-aged appearance that it drew glances from all around. The middle-aged man slowly raised his golden bow. A golden arrow leaped from his waist and landed perfectly on the string. As the shimmering string drew taut, a piercing hum rang in everyone's ears. WHRRR. Chapter 800, Changshui Tomb. Changshui Tomb. The terrain of Changshui Tomb was low and mostly flat. Ash-gray forests stretched across the land, half hidden in thick, oppressive mist. The area seemed both tranquil and ominous. However, 3 figures were concealed within the mist. The one in front looked aged, his hair faintly white as he quietly stared at the forest ahead. He was flanked by 2 young men, one in white and holding a fan with a graceful air, while the other was broad-faced and kind-looking, clad in sea-blue robes. Li Zijai kept himself hidden within the clouds. The old man beside him stroked his beard and said quietly, "Zijai, why hasn't Tang Shedu made a move yet?" "Perhaps he's waiting for the other divisions," Li Zijai replied casually, but his condition was far from ideal. His complexion was pale, and though his body brimmed with mana, it faintly disturbed his injuries, leaving his strength unstable and hollow. He had taken 3 autumn convergence pills in a row, sacrificing over 10 years of lifespan. He should have spent at least 2 or 3 years in seclusion to fully recover, 5 years if he wanted to be truly cautious. But now, just half a year later, he had been forced to emerge and face battle again. It was no wonder his mana felt unstable. Had the pills not come from the Yang family, but had been some ordinary mana-boosting medicine, he would have already suffered permanent damage. Still, the loss of Baixiang Valley could not be ignored. A swift order from Mount Bianyan had summoned the majority of cultivators to Changshui Tomb. Li Zijai had not been the only one summoned. Yu Yuwei and Li Quantao had been dispatched. Li Quantao chuckled inexplicably at his words. "I really don't know what Tang Shedu is thinking, putting the 3 of us out on the fringes. I thought he'd keep you right under his nose and send you to the thickest knot of devil cultivators, just in case something unexpected happened." Yu Yuwei only stroked his beard without speaking, but Li Zijai understood clearly in his heart. Tang Shedu is probably racking his brain just trying to survive. He has no time to scheme against me. If I die and provoke the wrath of my family, they might bring all their past and present grudges to a Taoist master, who could exterminate him into ashes with a single palm. No one would dare raise a word in his defense either. After all, Tang Shedu no longer had any backing. Taoist Master Yuan Ziu and Taoist Master Yunwu were barely on civil terms, so they were unlikely to stand up for him. Who else in the Azure Pond sect would dare speak on his behalf? In that sense, it was misfortune wrapped in fortune. As long as the 3 of them stuck together and didn't face the Murong family's direct descendants, their safety should be assured. As the trio stood in silence, a white light suddenly shot into the sky from nearby. The command tokens at their waists flared brightly, and a thunderous boom rolled through the sky. Boom! How dare you! A roar erupted as black clouds swirled like a vortex in the sky. A surge of demonic energy burst from the earth, dragging a torrent of darkness into the air that swirled in all directions. Then came a shrill, piercing shriek. "Azure Pond rats! I haven't even come looking for you, and yet here you are, throwing yourselves at my..." Li Zijai and the others exchanged glances and soared toward the commotion. They saw Tang Shedu in full glowing spirit armor, standing in front of the heart of the demonic cloud. 6 long, radiant white branches manifested in the sky, orbiting the white light around him in swift flight. A sweeping motion of his halberd scattered the demonic clouds before him. The white light radiating from his body was dazzling and intense as he said coldly, "I am Tang Shedu. I've come to exchange a few pointers." Tang Shedu was a veteran cultivator with years of renown. His techniques and mastery of the halberd were both formidable and refined through plentiful battle experience. He only needed a single strike to shatter a large swathe of the demonic clouds in the sky, scattering them in all directions. Below, the 3 each engaged a devil cultivator, remaining close enough for mutual support. The one facing Li Zijai wielded an axe and wore a black-scaled Dharma robe. His eyes were faintly red, and dark demonic energy surged around him. This devil cultivator couldn't compare to Chuoba Changyuan, who embodied both the immortal and demonic paths. His body was cloaked in thick, inky demonic energy. It was crude and chaotic, clearly the result of a rushed cultivation rise. He didn't seem to be a direct subordinate of the Murong family either, and was likely a conscripted rogue demonic cultivator. It was clear the other 2 had deliberately left this one to Li Zijai. Li Zijai advanced with his sword. The rainbow light he wielded scattered the enemy's spell arts, causing their aura to falter slightly. He sensed the opponent was stronger than anticipated and thought to himself, "This devil cultivator's techniques aren't remarkable, but his axe techniques have something to them." He gently formed a seal, activating Golden Cloud, which turned into flickering points of golden radiance. They shot past the opponent and reappeared behind him. His longsword rose, unsheathing in a flash. Celestial Moon Slash. He sliced off the opponent's head with a single strike. Golden Cloud flickered once more, dodging incoming spell arts and landing off to the side. He fully activated Universal Dawn Mist, exhaled steadily, and formed a new seal, Morning Rainbow Lure. The Devil Cultivator's head flew from his neck without much change in expression. His body stepped forward into midair, trying to chase after it. Twice he attempted to reattach it, but both times it slipped and failed to align. He had to stop and use both hands to awkwardly pat and adjust his neck until he finally managed to reattach it. Li Zijai watched with a hint of regret. What a shame I've focused on spell arts for so many years. My swordsmanship has fallen too far behind. If not, that strike might have prevented him from reattaching his head altogether, and I could have finished the battle early. Boom. The rainbow light in his hand had already leaped forth when a thunderclap exploded in Li Zijai's ears. His chest tightened, nearly throwing him off balance. Gritting his teeth, he looked up. He saw a white light rise into the sky, transforming into a giant human head the size of a small mountain. Its sparse eyebrows, oversized eyes, and gaping, bloody mouth roared fiercely in midair, a belly-born head of the Murong family. He had only looked up for a moment, but he hadn't stopped his spell. The Devil Cultivator before him had fared worse. Shaken by the roar, he hesitated for a brief instant, giving Li Zijai's rainbow light the chance to pierce through his chest and explode into brilliant five-colored flames. Naturally, Li Zijai wouldn't miss such an opportunity. He pursued with another spell, but just then a faint humming rang in his ears, followed by a flash of dazzling golden light streaking across the sky. The massive head in the sky let out a wretched scream and cried out in terror, You've come too, Wah. What an immortal bow! Li Zijai's heart settled instantly, as if he had regained his confidence. The elders have arrived. It seems the Azure Pawn sect is committing its full force this time, perhaps with support from the Golden Feather sect as well. He pressed a stream of rainbow light against the enemy's chest, causing the devil's body to quake and his vital chi to suffer heavy damage. But thick demonic flames erupted from the enemy's feet again, and the battle above seemed to shift once more. Li Zijai didn't have time to look closely, when two figures suddenly shot out from the surrounding demonic clouds. One came from the left, the other from the right, pincering him between them. Li Zijai already felt a sting on his face even before their spells arrived. He had no choice but to release his current opponent, draw his sword to block, and send forth a rainbow slash that shattered the two incoming spell arts before him. But the move was too rushed. It aggravated his injuries, forcing him to briefly pause to regulate his breath. The two Devil Cultivators were both hardened killers from the north, and they had the instincts to match. They exchanged glances and simultaneously activated their Dharma artifacts to attack.